It's garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
You're attaching it to a pole that has special needs.
It worked out, though. Like, we finally did find a mic situation that worked for you.
Yes.
It took several iterations,
it took
but
like
we found
20 episodes
Yeah.
to get it, but no complaints since.
No,
Not for me.
not hitting it anymore.
Now you got the Mr. Pop filter back here.
I know, so I'm not popping today.
No more magnitude.
No, someone told me to stop popping off, Drew.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I am, yes.
Okay. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 145 of the Goulet Pencast, where fountain pens are still a thing. I am Brian Goulet.
And I am Drew Brown.
And we're here from Goulet Pens to deliver this casual and informal, tangential and extraneous, superfluous and extemporaneous fountain pen show, where we talk about what's going on at the Goulet Pen Company and in our fountain pen lives. In today's show, we're going to be talking about how AI might influence fountain pens, their usage, the industry, or what else?
Which is short for Allen Iverson.
Sure, let's go with that. If the type of filling mechanism affects how well a pen seals, like how well it holds its ink. Recommending pens in a value range, mid-range, and luxury range. Other dusty inks besides Drew's go-to Sailor Ink Studios, Rain Fluff and Thunder Fluff. Our procedure for repacking pens that we show in videos and what we use for Nib Nook. We'll be spotlighting the Sheaffer Icon with the new fine nib. And we're going to be talking about our past weeks. And then I got a fun fact about the Olympics that you might not know about, since that is definitely a thing that's going on right now.
Any fact about the Olympics will be one I don't know about.
Well, then...
Except that there is jumping and running.
There is both jumping and running.
I do know that.
Yes, both of those things, sometimes at the same time. So, it's pretty fun.
Sorry, I was looking at something that I didn't notice before. Oh, good. Sorry.
Okay.
Squirrel?
Squirrel indeed. Let's squirrel on over to our next segment of feedback.
Yes. Okay, our first little nugget of feedback this week comes to us from Goat Wrangler, who's a doctor. No. Anyway, Goat Wrangler says...
Dr. Goat Wrangler. I like that sound.
Will we ever see the return of the turkey hammock ink sample Pencast feature?
Oh.
Yeah, we haven't really done any discounted free ink samples in a while. Thank you. Someone mentioned that to me, and I said, I don't know. No one's really asked about it. But then the Goat Wrangler shows up and was like, hey.
Okay.
So stay tuned.
It wasn't an intentional, like, let's stop doing this. It was just like...
I just forgot one week and no one said anything, so I was like, okay, well. Stay tuned. Perhaps there will be one. And then Janie Bug says, hi. I started watching the Pencast last summer off and on, but in January I had pneumonia and watched all of them all the way through, starting at episode number 1.
Whoa.
Thanks for being the best medicine I had. Quick question. Can you clarify if Drew was the Goulet Pen Company's first employee other than Brian and Rachel? I thought he was, but then there was one episode where it made me think there was another employee working there in the garage when he started. By the way, 3 fingers remaining last week, 2 this week. Fun game, Janaea. Nice. We did have a lot of good feedback about our second round of Put a Finger Down, and I don't know if anybody had 5 up last week. The first week, a couple people still had 5 fingers up. Last week, I didn't see anybody in the comments. I could have missed you, but let us know if you did. I would like to know that if there was at least one victor out there. I certainly did not. In fact, Brian, somebody totally called me out. And respect to them, I said, maybe I have one blue pen. The person was like, I know Drew went over his pen collection one episode, went back,
oh my gosh,
went to notes, found my collection. I have 9.
You have 9 blue
I have
pens.
9. I totally
Wow.
They were like, Drew, here are the blue pens you had. They listed them out. I was like,
my gosh.
Okay.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So I was totally off.
There you go.
Anyway,
well,
I was not the first employee.
Nope.
No, there was a part-time guy and then one full-time employee before me. I'm currently the one who's been here the longest because that guy doesn't work here anymore. But well, I was the second official employee.
Yes, full-time. Yep, exactly.
And then finally, the return of Soyakaze 404. This was the person who told us that they played the Pencast in their shop.
Oh, yeah.
We were like, what?
Can we get some more details on that?
We did. In fact, Soyakaze works at a smoke shop. And vapes and cigarettes and stuff like that.
Okay.
And They say, yes, I got mentioned. Haha, awesome, guys. I messaged Drew a pic of the shop. It's a smoke shop, and it's three of us that run it, so we play whatever we want in there. My coworker is into RC cars and aquarium setups and plays those videos in there too.
All right.
So don't worry. So don't worry about the customers. They are thoroughly tormented by our hobbies.
Wow.
I'm not at all surprised. Like you being a little bit of a RC fan as well. Like you know that the crossovers exist.
Oh yeah.
So as long as you're working at a place with fellow, hobbyists, then yeah, I'm not worried that you're bothering anybody.
Yeah.
And except for the customers, but maybe they'll find a new hobby while they're in there shopping.
Yep. Cool. All right. I got Heather Marie Plans says, I have to share a funny story that happened to my fiance and I today.
I gave you stories today, Brian.
You
Sorry.
did. That's okay. I like stories. We got home and he checks the mail, returns with a Goulet box, and neither of us had ordered anything from the shop recently. He flips it over and it's addressed to him. An eBay purchase for an RC car part, his hobby. He messaged the seller just to tell him he received the part and how he and I were puzzled by receiving a Goulet box. They messaged back and forth how his wife and I love stationery, fancy fountain pens, and ink, while the two of them share a hobby of RC cars. From their conversations, she also watches the Pencast. So if you see this, hello to the lady in Texas whose husband has an RC hobby. I feel like that could be a couple of people.
I love that so much.
There you go. Connecting people through random interactions.
I can't imagine like if I ordered something on eBay and it showed up in a Goulet box. That would freak me out.
That would be pretty wild.
Yeah.
That would be really wild. It's funny how a simple box with blue writing, not even meant for me, put a smile on my face and gave me a memory to journal about. That is pretty cool.
That's fantastic. I love that story.
Serenity. I like that too. That's really fun. And people are reusing the boxes too. That makes me feel even better. Like, good for the environment.
And can I just say, selfishly, we have the best YouTube comment section ever. Like, this is the stuff that gets in there, y'all.
Yeah,
like, it
pretty
is
awesome.
Oh my God.
That's
Just
so fun.
solid gold.
It's so good.
This might have been in the thing where I asked questions for the Pencast. But either way, it's on YouTube. It's amazing. Y'all are awesome. Keep it up.
There you go. I got another one for you too. JS Matlock says, Brian, don't feel bad about the toilet paper. My toilet paper resides in a plastic Sterilite shoebox. This is in regards to my toilet paper holder that I still have yet to replace.
You had a busy weekend.
And I did. And then the toilet paper is just free range in the bathroom. So Matlock says, Brian, don't feel bad about the toilet paper. My toilet paper resides in a plastic Sterilite shoebox.
We know what those are.
that sits on a low shelf opposite the toilet. If I put it on the holder, my 15+ pound chonk of a house cat, Sir Jasper Goodkitty, the gentleman gatto, he's a tuxedo, will unroll it. What a fancy name. If I just leave it sitting out, he carries it off. A mighty hunter, he regularly brings me pot holders, paper towels, sink stoppers, hair scrunchies, socks, and assorted junk mail. Always in the wee hours of the morning while singing the song of his people. My funny little klepto kitty makes me smile. He always shows up when I pull out my journal and fountain pen, and I've learned to keep the pens in a drawer. I left one out once, and of course, he brought it to me. Well, that is really funny.
A mighty hunter indeed, the gentleman gatto.
Yes. Wow. That's really entertaining.
Sterilite shoebox. We have many of those around the office.
We have a lot of Sterilite bins.
Yeah, I guess that's a shoebox. I mean, it's the right size.
Yeah, I guess so. Like
depending on the shoe, I guess.
What size are those ones?
I don't know. You've only bought like 1,000 of them.
I think they're 4-quart ones, and then the bigger ones are 13-quart, if I remember correctly. 8-quart. No, the 13-quart are the bigger. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That's it for feedback right now, but y'all leave it all the time in the comments, and we'd love to read it. So let's talk about some new stuff. All right. I got 2 fun new things to talk about. One of them we sort of talked about before, the Homo sapiens Earth origins from Visconti. We had like a nib size of the fire ones, but we got some of the other ones in. Now they're pretty limited. They are limited edition, and they've kind of been trickling in for us. So if you've been waiting, like, I'm sorry, it's been slow coming, but we have them right now, at least as of recording. But go check those out. They look gorgeous. These are Brooks resins from Carolina Pens. Just really stunning looking materials. So that is really cool to see them on some Visconti pens. It's not the first time hopefully not the last time. They're $956, so they're a little bit more than your average Homo sapiens, but less than some of the other LEs. So that's kind of cool. Limited to 388 pieces worldwide per color, I believe. Yeah. But and they're numbered limited edition. So that's kind of cool. So if you like the Homo sapiens and you like these colors, they're definitely worth a look. And we got some Sailor 1911L Ninja Maki. These are pretty cool. So they are Maki. They are over top of resin, like a PMMA resin. So not over top of ebonite, which is what they do sometimes. And price is going to be lower as a result. So that's part of what's really cool about these pens is they are like more full on Maki. And so really cool designs. I mean, it's ninjas, which are kind of awesome. I mean, we are children of the 90s. So I just feel like ninjas were more of a thing in the 90s. Like my kids are like mildly aware of ninjas, but it was like, I mean, you had the Ninja Turtles, of course. So just like, I don't know.
And then every other cartoon that tried to cash in on that whole vibe, you know, a group of good guys fighting bad guys. Like.
Yeah, absolutely. So they are $392, which is not much more than just a regular 1911L. So it's kind of cool. You should check them out. There's 4 different designs. There's Suki, Oshiro, In, and Gojo. So go check those out. They look cool. They look sort of different from each other, but all sort of similar because they all have ninjas. That's what I got. And it's all the full range of Sailor nibs as well with that beautiful 21 karat nib. That's it for me. What about you, Drew?
Gale Force Green, Brian, is a new ink from Ferris Wheel Press.
Okay.
It is a Fairy Tales ink. It is green. It's sparkly. Mm-hmm. It is supposed to represent, I believe, the big bad wolf's like
this is the Fairy Tales
gust. Yeah. So they're kind of talking about the 3 little pigs right now, and I believe this is the the wolf's weapon of choice. So that is available now. It's $20. It's pretty. Check it out if you want. And then, as we mentioned earlier, we have some additional entries into the Sheaffer Icon line. We have had blue and black available, or black and we have a blue one and then kind of a black and reddish one. This one's gonna be a red and black one, so like predominantly red with black accents. So that one is available now.
It's a loud red.
Very loud red.
It pops.
Yeah, very cool. So $108 for that. It is a really cool partially hooded steel nib. And they write really nicely. So red and black is the new one available. We also have fine nibs available now, which is also new. So that kind of goes along with the new red one. So
we're going to show you that today.
There you go. So more to come on that, but the red one is available now. Also from Sheaffer, this is something that has my eye. It's a new Sheaffer 100. This one they're calling the Coffee Edition, and it is limited edition. It looks beautiful, Brian. It is a gorgeous brown ombre. Front to bottom, you start with a dark brown, end with a light brown, or vice versa, depending on how you're looking at it. But it is lovely. It's pretty. It's got a coffee cup with a heart on it on the top finial. It's beautiful. And then to cap it all off, it's got like a dark rose gold set of hardware, including the nib.
Very obviously, prominently rose gold.
But here's the thing, Brian.
What's the thing?
$51.96.
That's really good. That's
right.
a really good price. And it's a slick looking pen, I gotta say.
It's super slick. So
how do you like the 100 as a format though, as a pen?
I love it.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, at Sheaffer overall, like they're solid. They're not like my number one, but they're not at the bottom of my list either. Like
solid pens.
If I'm recommending that someone buy something in the $50 price range, I would probably put the Sheaffer 100 like in the top. Well, I would probably say Pilot, but if I'm doing 3 different brands, I would say probably Pilot, TWSBI, and then that third spot might go to Sheaffer.
Is that a Lamy, really?
In the $50 range, like, I mean, I guess you
got All-Star in there. I don't know.
That would be my go-to if I'm like
top 5. How about top 5?
Definitely top 5.
Definitely top 5.
Definitely
there you
top
go.
5.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm happy with it. Enjoy them. Don't buy them all because I plan on getting one. So buy all of them, but save me one. Thank you. And that's it for new stuff.
Sweet. All right. We got a couple company updates, so let's talk about that. All right, first update that we have is there's an Esterbrook video out there right now from this guy on the Esterbrook SD. We haven't really, we've like talked about the SD a little bit here, but we haven't really like featured it in a video. I think it's made some lists and stuff that we've done,
Yeah.
but never like its own feature. So
I thought that
was kind of cool.
I really wanted to highlight the fact that they're doing so much with members of the community,
Mm-hmm.
both in terms of like material from Tim McKenzie and then, 4 different nib technicians, bringing them into the fold, offering nibs that no other company has ever offered.
Yeah.
I was like, this is the SD as a vehicle for this is pretty interesting and definitely worth checking out. So if you're curious about the why behind the SD, there's a lot of why. It's not just a pen.
Mm-hmm. There you go. And then we're doing the DC Pen Show this weekend. Not working it. What?
Really? That's this weekend?
Yeah. Sorry. Hope you're ready. We're going there. Not to work it, not doing a table. But we are recording a Pencast there this weekend. So
Okay.
I guess we'll have to figure that out. No, for real. We are going to be there Sunday. This Sunday, the August 3rd, 4th. What day is it? 4th, I think. I don't know. Whatever the Sunday is in August in 2024. It's going to be at 11 a.m. We'll be there in one of the ballrooms downstairs. I don't know which room yet.
You'll hear us.
You'll find us. Yeah, it's true. All the rowdy people downstairs will be down there. And we'll be recording the one that we'll publish next week's Pencast there live with a studio audience. So recording live, I mean, that's kind of every Pencast, but recording live with more people in the room.
That's it. Yeah.
How about that?
Standard recording,
Yeah.
With lighting that's not under our immediate control. And
it'll look worse.
Perhaps some light crowd noise, but it shouldn't be too bad. If you've gone back and watched episode 100, it'll be identical to that as far as we know.
Pretty much. That's the goal. All right. I think it's time for Q&A. Let's do it.
All right.
All right, Drew.
Now, this comes to us
We're here
from...
to talk about Al. What's Al going to bring to the fountain pens?
Yes, Allen Iverson. TX Piper, which I'm guessing is a bagpiper from Texas, or it could just be a smoking pipe enthusiast. But that's not exciting as a Texan. I'm thinking just like a cowboy with a bagpipe. So
there's one thing I think about Texas, it's bagpipes.
I want that to be the truth, even though it probably isn't. Either way, the Texas Piper says, what changes, if any, could AI bring to fountain pens? Their use, the industry, accessibility, etc. Now, I know this isn't the first time we've gotten this question, but it is semi-persistent. So you're the resident AI fellow here, Brian.
I don't know about that.
Well, you're very interested.
I have been interested. I've followed up a little less on it recently.
Oh, yeah?
Gotta say.
Okay.
Yeah. We've played around with a bunch, and there's definitely like a hype machine behind AI. And as like AI has been getting shoved down our throats in the media, and with every piece of software that we use, they're like, we have AI now. And you're like,
what does that mean?
It's just another large language model that corrects my grammar in your software as opposed to another piece of software. Okay, I guess that's AI. So, the term is being thrown around very much. It is a buzzword for sure. Sort of like you had crypto and NFTs and other things like that, Bitcoin and stuff like that.
I can't wait for my NFT to, really start raking it in day now.
That's right. Your AI generated NFTs. Let's just combine it all into things of extreme value.
There was a point where someone asked us are we going to make Goulet NFTs, around the time that was big. And I didn't add that one to the Pencast, but it was asked.
Yes. Well, there was a hype machine behind that too.
Spoiler alert, we did not do that.
No, we did not. But AI is such a broad term, right? I do think that AI is going to change a lot of things. It already has. It already is. It's hard to say specifically how it's going to impact fountain pens. There's nothing that I've seen with AI that is like going to impact the fountain pen world more or less or differently than kind of just everything else. So I think the thing maybe that I could think that is affecting just like writing in general, maybe not just fountain pens, but like pens, writing instruments, you could make an argument that empowering more people to more easily come up with words that they didn't necessarily have to write using a machine would mean that words are becoming more commoditized, and therefore people need to write things down less. There's an argument to be made for that. But the thing is, I would say we don't have, accountants keeping, hand ledgers for their homes and businesses anymore. There's software for that. I think most of that's been disrupted pretty well already. And I would say the vast majority of people who are using fountain pens today are doing so as a choice because they love to do it, not because it's the most convenient and easiest tool for the job. So I think AI is going to disrupt a lot of things, but I could make an argument that AI might even make the fountain pen experience even more special, even more valuable, since we're already a niche within a niche pretty much. That's just going to continue to be a thing, just like you have, vinyl records are having kind of a moment right now. That's like 3 or 4 different media generations old at this point, when streaming is definitely a thing and you don't need any digital media, like any media physical device in your life. Why are people buying vinyl records? I think fountain pens kind of fall into that same category. It's like an enthusiast's thing. It's a conscious choice. So I think that might actually be the biggest way that it impacts, maybe, but I have no idea because I don't even really know what AI is these days. But
we know companies have it now.
Yes, it's a thing that is getting talked about a lot.
We've got AI.
Yes, that's right. Most of what we talk about with AI is large language models, which again are just essentially word calculators. I haven't seen that drastically impact the fountain pen community in any way yet, unless I'm missing something. We've seen a little bit of stuff of people using it to, generate copy for websites or, help generate images. We've used it for brainstorming images. Haven't been using it for selling purposes or anything like that really. But we'll use some AI for inspiration and for funny stuff that we'll include in the Pencast, but and to help correct grammar and stuff like that. There's a lot of softwares that already use that, even just your email browser and stuff like that. Your emails, they're using AI, whether you're choosing it or not. They're using it for any phone or any device that you have that's auto correcting or auto prompting, certain words, like predictive words. That's essentially what is being talked about as AI. So, I would say maybe the negative part is that, going back to the writing thing in general, is that future generations will grow up essentially not having to think as much about forming words and forming thoughts into a written form, because it'll just be so much easier to do it, especially with voice prompting. They're just not going to have to write down things nearly as much. So while I don't think that's under threat immediately, over time, it's I have young kids and they don't use textbooks in school. They have a laptop and that's the thing they carry around, and they do all their work, all their classes on a laptop. They grew up with tablets in their hands basically, and we still teach them writing and they still love to draw and all that kind of stuff, but it's had to be a more intentional act on our part to make that happen. I think over time, are they going to feel as strongly about doing that for their kids? Probably not, honestly. It's just going to be less a part of their thing. So I do think longer term, AI is going to absolutely shift some of that behavior, but I don't know, there could be a backlash from it. Who knows? But I don't see anything super immediately that's going to change everything in the fountain pen world. That's kind of all I got.
I think that I've seen some application of using AI to help think outside of the box or calculate a lot, when in terms of engineering or,
programming for sure.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if maybe what we'll see, we won't even notice, just having it be used by manufacturers in their design and engineering process.
Could be.
And maybe it just kind of trickles down from there, and it's less of an immediate, very obvious impact and more just businesses doing business stuff, just kind of integrating, those sorts of models into their, production.
Yeah. There's an argument to be made that it's going to end up just using email as an example. You're going to have AI that's going to generate copy for an email, and then you're going to have your other email browser that's going to use AI to summarize what was sent to you. It's who's even writing and who's even reading it anymore? What even is communication anymore? So all that stuff's going to get called into question. But
if you could just kind of have a wish that something AI could do for the online shopping experience, what do you think that you would snap your fingers and have it do. Like I don't want to I don't want to predict what somebody's gonna like necessarily, because that's not that never works.
Yeah, I mean,
But
certainly
maybe AI could be used in the future to, rather than having just a ton of like filters on the side, because we have so many and people still ask for more, but then you add too many and it just gets like completely unruly. Maybe one day
just, like,
AI
have a prompt for
maybe show me blue pens with piston fillers with gold nibs under $500. Just type it in at boom filters. Like maybe that would be a pretty
well, like one thing, I guess I could have put this in the company updates, but we're rolling out like a new help center this week.
I heard a little bit about that today.
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
I haven't, don't know the details.
Essentially, we had like the FAQs portion of our website, which the problem with FAQs is if you're trying to get like a specific answer to your thing, it's a kind of a lot to sift through. So we wanted a more like search-based, help center, or sometimes it's called a knowledge base. It's not quite as robust as a knowledge base. It's not like a big database, but essentially it's like we took our FAQs, made them a little more robust. Because again, it's like we try to cover as much as we can in the FAQs, but there's all kinds of specific situations that people get into, especially like with international and customs and duties and taxes in different regions. And, what about different brands with other warranties and all these types of stuff. So we definitely have some stuff, it's on like the back end of Shopify that, has more capability, for integrating some AI powered stuff that helps for like predictive search and things like that. So as you're searching for answers to a question, it can, make it more relevant what is drawn upon. We're still generating all the text, all the stuff in our help center, but it makes that a little more searchable and accessible.
There you go.
So it's like it's kind of a small thing, but it's also something that we hope is much more useful than what was there previously with the FAQs.
Yeah, maybe it's not going to change fountain pens, but it might change.
Again,
hopefully
that's like
the ease in which you can acquire a fountain pen.
Yeah, it's literally just a website thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like your idea of like, just like you have the search filters, you have to kind of know like what all the different things are that you're searching for. But I mean, if you're literally just like, hey, I like to write this type of stuff, I have these 3 pens, this is my budget, what is some recommendations?
Exactly.
That I could see being pretty helpful.
Yeah.
But again, that's not like specific to fountain pens. But yeah, I could see definitely more of that being helpful in like the search and buying process. So yeah, I don't know.
It's not quite as like doing that's not quite as easy as watching a 2.5 hour Pencast, but some people might prefer it. I don't know.
I don't know. It depends. Different strokes for different folks. Yeah. So I'm curious. What do y'all think? Is there something I'm missing? I don't know. Is there something that's already happening out there and we're just blind to it? I don't know. That's all I got.
Alrighty.
Got a question for you, Drew.
Mm-hmm.
This is a long one. This is a multi-question question. So let's pack them in. John Paul Goulet. There we go. We all know that certain pen caps seal better than others, especially pens with inner caps and or other cap sealing mechanisms. My question is, do certain filling mechanisms seal better than others? So not the caps, but on the other end, inside the guts. Is it possible for evaporation to occur from the filling mechanism, even if it's minimal in comparison to the nib/cap? Do you have any examples of this noticeably happening? I've not heard this question addressed before, and I thought it might be something new, even if it's not super practical. Well, we love weird but not super practical questions.
Why we're here.
We're taking it, Drew.
So yeah, it's possible, but there are a lot of ifs in between your question and that answer, and that's what I'm going to get into. So, with internal filling mechanisms such as piston, pens, vac fillers, and things like that, it is extraordinarily rare. The most, now that's when I'm talking about like the gasket failing or not being airtight from the manufacturer. I've never seen that happen. Now, what I have had happen every now and then with a standard international converter or a Lamy converter, I'll get some ink behind the piston. It happens. It can be the tiniest amount of ink that finds its way past the gasket into the back, but it smears all over the place, and it makes you think that like there's ink behind my thing. Like, yes, there's a tiny bit of ink, but because it moves around so much, it definitely looks like way more than it is.
It's like when you get like a little bit of ink on your desk and you go to like wipe it up and it like smears everywhere.
It
You're like, oh my
procreates.
gosh,
Yeah, it's terrible.
This looks so much worse.
100%. So that I have seen happen. The fix is super easy though, because those converters, most of the standard international converters, again, that's not narrowing it down because a bunch of people make that size of converter, but most of them do have a hole at the end of the knob that is completely open to the opposite end of the gasket. So if you take a syringe and flush that out, you can flush it just like you would the front end of the converter. So if you have ink in there, it's super easy to get out, or at least easy to replace that ink with some condensation. So I've done that before. One trick I've also heard from a Pencast listener is to put your thumb on the front of the opening, and with the converter all the way depressed, I guess, suck up your thumb or your finger, and that pressure having nowhere to go will actually draw ink from the back of the pen.
Huh.
That was what was mentioned to me. I've tried it a few times, but I think it might have worked, but I don't know. That's a thing. Someone said it. It works for them. But I usually just flush the back of it, especially the Lamy converters. Those have a big old opening in the back of their knob.
Yeah.
And also keep in mind that you might accidentally get some water back there while you're flushing it, and you might be confused. It's just because it's open back there. Not a lot of people know that it's totally open.
Especially
some of them are closed. Some of them are totally closed, but
especially if you soak your converter. I do that too.
Yeah.
I've long since stopped caring. Even if there's ink behind the piston, who cares?
Yeah.
It's separated from the ink that you're writing with. So,
and here's the thing.
It doesn't matter. It's inside the pen.
If perhaps you do have a converter that has the slightest, tiniest bit of intolerance between the walls of the converter and the gasket, your pen is closed around the converter, which is another seal, often airtight. Like a lot of pens I would consider airtight. Even pens that don't say that they're eyedroppers. If you filled that thing with water and screwed it shut, a lot of them are going to be fine. Not saying you should do that, but I'm saying that's like a second, piece of security. So that is probably not a lot of
airflow happening.
No. And here's the thing: if your converter did have something that compromised its integrity, you would find that a few things would happen before it even had a chance to show you any sort of increased drying out time. So what happens there is you now have an air problem. And when you introduce an inconsistent air-ink interchange to any fountain pen reservoir, be it an internal filling mechanism or a converter, you're going to probably get some burping or some inconsistent flow out of your nib. That can happen. And you can also have your filling mechanism, whatever it may be, just function poorly. If you've ever tried to drink out of a straw that had a crack in it,
I hate that.
You could, something
insane.
It's horrible. It's horrible, but that's the same sort of, science, physics behind drawing up inks is vacuum pressure. And you can get some liquid in, if you're committed. Sometimes you flip around the straw to hope the crack goes down into the drink and you're fine.
It never does. It's always in the middle.
It's
always in the middle.
So especially,
you know why? Because you bang that straw on the table.
Just tear the wrapper, y'all. Don't bang the straw on the table.
Sometimes they're wrapped in plastic, and you can't freaking get the thing out of there.
You press.
So you try to bang on it. All you do is break the straw, and it doesn't come out of the plastic, and you're like, "What are we doing here?"
But
it's 2024. Have we not figured this out yet?
I know, right? But that's the same thing. So some ink will get up there, but it'll be bubbly and weird. So you'll notice that, and then of course, if it legit is compromised, you're going to get weird, drippy, splattery mess. So all that will happen if it's in any way significant. The last thing you'll notice would be, my pen's drying out a little quicker than normal. And then apart from the converter, if you have a compromised situation in a large capacity internal reservoir, you're going to notice that even more. So it's rare I've never seen ink just travel behind an actual internal piston of a TWSBI or any sort of the 823. Like
a lot of them are double walled anyway.
Yeah, like a converter, maybe. Like the amount of attention to detail that goes into those is very different than the amount of detail that goes into an 823 or VAC 700 or something like that.
Yeah.
But I have seen cracks occur in both the VACs and the 823 because people take those back ends apart and wrench them down, and they will crack right at those threads where that internal filling unit goes into the body. And if a crack forms there, no, please don't. Just until it's tight. And when a crack does form there, you certainly get exactly what I described. You get that weird cracked straw effect when you try to actually fill your pen, and that can also lead to inconsistent writing experiences as well. So all that to say, yes, if you have a tiny little bit of ink, it's possible, but unlikely that will be the biggest of your concerns. That is a tertiary concern. If you've got a gasket in your converter or your internal piston pen, you're going to have other bigger problems on your hand, if it's significant enough to notice anyway. So that's my take.
I only have one comment. My personal opinion, the filling mechanism does not matter. If it mattered enough to affect your ink drying out or whatever, it would affect the way that it writes. So you would know, you would have a bigger problem on your hand. Because basically all filling mechanisms have to be a completely sealed system in order for it to write properly, except for the nib end, because the filler hole lets air in as the nib is expelling ink out. And there has to be a balance of that interchange. And if that balance is thrown out of whack for any reason, you're going to have other problems on your hand besides just the ink drawing out. So all of the evaporation and everything is going to come out of the nib, not the other part, unless it's broken, like Drew likes to do to his pens. I'm just kidding.
Absolute goal.
Drew takes care of his pens.
I do.
Okay.
I love my pens. All right.
Cool.
Question number 3 comes to us from our friend David Parrish Productions.
Hello.
Question: 1 luxury pen under $1,000, 1 mid-range pen over $100, 1 value pen under $100. What are your picks? Now, Brian,
I got to clarify here.
I agree. It's a little ambiguous.
I think it's a typo.
So David Parrish said a luxury pen under $1,000, but I think we both think...
What's the difference between under 1,000 and over 100?
Could be the same pen.
That's the same range.
So maybe he just meant don't go over 1,000, but stay in that range, or maybe it was a typo.
Well, I made selections for both.
I did too after seeing your answer, so we'll just do that.
Let's share that. Okay, so under the assumption that we're going with luxury pens over $1,000.
All right, so you're going luxury first.
I'm going luxury. Well, that's the order that was asked.
Okay, all right.
Or do you want to have a build up?
I don't know. I just don't know I don't know if I'm ready for over 1,000 right out of the gate.
Okay,
Brian.
well then let's start at the value. We'll work our way up.
Okay, all right.
I'll share mine. You share yours, and we'll get there together.
That makes me much more comfortable.
Okay, cool. Let's go on this journey together. All right. Value, of course, I didn't come up with just one pen for any of this. I can if you want to, but I was really torn between two. Under $100, I said either TWSBI Eco or TWSBI 580. It's kind of a toss-up for me. It's more a matter of preference. They're both good pens. If true value is what you're looking for, the Eco would be my choice.
I did also struggle with this one. I went lower than the $50 range that you seem to be hovering around. Well, not the Eco, but
you can get a fancy Eco.
That's
you
true.
Can get that indigo with the bronze trim.
I went low though. I went to Pilot Explorer Zone.
Love that Explorer.
Here's the thing. Yes, you could say Prera, but you get so few options. They all kind of look the same. You get slightly
same nib.
Yeah, you could say Prera. Prera's a better pen than the Explorer. Yeah, but I'm like, if I'm going to tell somebody to spend their money, I'm not going to say Prera.
You can get like 3 Explorers.
That's what I'm saying. So I mean, I guess for this, hypothetical, it doesn't really matter, but I still can't bring myself to recommend the Prera over the Explorer. So Explorer, you can get a black matte, you can get a clear, you can get a...
So you went Explorer over Kakuno.
I did.
You are a Kakuno. And TWSBI Swipe, what about that, man?
That was my second.
Yeah?
That was my second.
Is that why you were torn?
That was what I was torn on.
Okay.
But ultimately, I cannot... If I'm saying under $100, I'm going to pick a Pilot nib. I'm like...
They're solid.
The Swipe is great, but... To be honest, those are like my 2 favorite beginner pens, the Swipe and the Explorer, and I hate both of their clips. I really do. The Pilot Explorer clip
is not a high priority for you, I guess.
I guess not, but like the Explorer clip is like sharp and metal. I'm like, it looks nice, but then the TWSBIs is just a big old funky roll stop. But I love them nonetheless. I'm a flawed person too, so I understand. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Explorer. Love the nib. It's every bit as good as the Metro or the Kakuno. But I think just kind of the range of colors is the winner here, because you get a clear pen, you can get a black matte pen, you can get a shiny white pen, or any color in between.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm getting that.
Fair. Those are solid.
Yeah. Mid-range, Brian.
Mid-range,
which is over $100.
Over $100, but less than 1,000.
Less than 1,000.
I went much closer to the like $100 side of things.
Same.
I said Lamy 2000 as my first pick. Maybe not a surprise. Mark it on your bingo cards. Also could make a strong argument for either a custom 823 or custom 743, just depending on which filling mechanism you like more. I consider them to be comparable pens. But yeah, those are my two. Because the Lamy 2000 is a little more contemporary styled, even though it's 60 years old or close to it. Custom 823, 743 is a little more like classically designed, but they both write great. And I can make an argument for either.
I immediately went to the 743 and the 912 because to me the
okay,
form
912, all right.
the form factor of those two pens just they feel so good. The writing experience is immaculate, but I'm sorry, they're boring. Like the 912, I love my 912, I do.
They're not boring, they're classic.
They're boring. That's why I had to send mine away to get Rushied because
could be more exciting.
I love the 912 so much.
The American market, at least.
I had to send it away to get a Rushied just so that the outside matched, the writing experience. And so I'm not going to pick that. As much as I love them, but it has to be a Pilot. It has to be a Pilot. I'm sorry. Their nibs are just the thing I need to be recommending here.
Are you going to be Pilot all the way up the ladder here?
Don't look. Yes.
I'm asking. Okay.
Unless you count Namiki. Anyway, I'm going to go with the E95S, Brian.
That's a good choice.
The only ding on it is the fact that it does not have the removable nib, the removable feed. The 743 is great for that. That thing just pops right out easily, so easily cleaned. But the E95S, it's such a fun pen. It's such
really is.
An exciting style.
Very bouncy nib. Yeah.
It is. It's so much about what makes fountain pens fun.
Yeah.
And I think
it's unique. It stands out.
It is. And without doing any sort of modifications or swapping nibs or doing custom grinds, like the E95S, I think delivers a really unique and fun writing experience that is not in any way prohibitive to a new user or someone who wants a first-time gold nib. So I think for that mid-range, it is the perfect pen.
The only downside is the converter.
You mean the cartridge that you refill?
You're beholden to the Con 40.
No.
Which is fine, but it's... the reason I would go more like 743 or 912 is you can use the Con 70, which is the greatest converter ever made.
Pilot refill cartridge. That's all you need.
You can refill cartridges too.
Yep.
That's totally legit. That's one thing, going back to the last question that we had, that crossed my mind and then I forgot about it. And then I just remembered it as you were talking. So with the whole filling mechanism thing, over enough time, cartridges themselves can actually evaporate even if they're completely sealed, because the plastic that's used in those disposable cartridges is more permeable than what you have in like converters and stuff like that. So that's like the one caveat. If you have a pen that's like super, super well sealed in the cap, but it's got a disposable cartridge in it, that cartridge may leach out and kind of like off gas.
I see that mostly on like the little Standard International short ones. Yeah. Like I've seen those like that have been, 15 years old and they're like halfway filled.
Yeah.
But I'll also I think we've mentioned that before, and a Pencast listener.
They gotta be pretty old though. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. A Pencast listener said I've had this one for 10 years and it's totally full. So it might just depend on where they're made and how they're made.
The environment and maybe the type of ink too. Maybe some inks are more anyway.
Sure.
Anyway, cool. So coming back to this question.
Okay, now I'm ready for the luxury zone. We have stepped gently up the stairs.
We're now fully committed. We're in gold nib territory here.
Right.
We're going for panache. So because of the nature of the way the question was asked, I felt compelled to answer a sub $1,000 luxury, because I consider anything, you ask the average person, they'll consider any pen over $20 luxury, but fountain pens I consider above 500 is a pretty indisputably luxury pen. You could argue that it could be a little lower than that. You could argue it'd be a little higher, but that's kind of what I tend to think of as a threshold.
Yeah. I don't think you're far off.
Yeah. It's subjective, but so going for the sub $1,000, I said the Homo sapiens Bronze Age. It's so classic.
Definitely a luxury.
It is a luxury. Pen. It's a luxury. It's different. The material's super cool. Hook safe lock. Cap is awesome. I love the bronze trim too. It patinas a little bit, which I love. I never polish mine. I don't know. It's just a cool pen. Cool material. Cool filling mechanism. I like it.
And that's in what price range? It's
that's the sub $1,000.
But the Bronze Age is what, like 700? somewhere.
Yeah, let me look.
Okay, it's around there. And then there's the ones that aren't the Bronze Age. Those
Bronze Age is 716.
716, yeah.
At the moment.
Cool.
Yeah. More if you get a custom nib grind, which might as well, because you're in still sub 1,000. All right. What about you? Did you do a sub 1,000?
I did. I saw your thing, and I'm like,
Okay.
what's he talking about? And then I reread the question, and I misunderstood it in the way you did. So I was like, okay,
there you go.
yeah,
There you
I think that it's valid. So my sub $1,000, I went right up to 900.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with the custom 845.
Ooh,
Which
Yarushi.
yes, sir.
That's a good one.
Definitely the Vermilion.
That was on my short list.
100%.
You would go Vermilion? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just because
why bother getting black Arushi with nothing on it? That pilot Vermilion Arushi, like
that looks cool.
I tried to when I did the pen and ink pairings, I was thinking about trying to find a red that looked exactly like the 845 Arushi, and
That's tough.
I couldn't find it because
it's like kind of a brick red color. There's
but I could not do it. And every time I found it, it's like the red Arushi changed colors on me, because in my mind it had a little hint of orange, but I'm like, no, it doesn't at all. So so I just didn't include it in the video because I could not find a perfect Arushi red ink.
Maybe there's an opportunity there. Come up with a Yarushi Vermilion ink.
Yeah.
That
would be cool.
$1,000 idea.
Yes, that's my third. That's my third pilot choice.
That is a solid choice.
Yeah,
that is a solid choice.
I do, and I know you don't completely agree with this, but I do prefer the 845 over the custom Arushi. I think that
I can see that argument.
Just the form factor.
I don't disagree with that at all. The custom Yarushi is so big.
It's huge. Yeah.
It's huge. It's not for everybody.
For me, the 845 is perfect. It's large enough to be like shockingly comfortable.
Yeah,
but not large enough to feel like what am I doing? Is this one of these like giant pencils from second grade, field day?
It does feel a little bit like a therapy pen.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. You gotta want a pen that big
right.
to fully appreciate it. Well, that's a good segue into my over $1,000 luxury choice. Pilot Custom Yarushi was one, or the Namiki Aya if you want to go even higher. Same nib. Love that Pilot number 30 nib. And so it's the same nib on both of those. The Namiki Aya, you're getting, it's longer than the custom Yarushi, but it's not quite as girthy. So I think it's a little more versatile. It would fit a little more appropriately in people's hands, but it's still a pretty big pen. And just the design, there's a little more to it than on the custom Yarushi. Custom Yarushi, you're looking at the same thing as with the 845. You get black or you get Vermilion. That's it. I have the Vermilion custom Yarushi, and I've been daily carrying it since the day that I inked it up. So
they've had green and blue 845s in Japan.
I mean, they could do anything.
They look so good.
There's all kinds of Yarushis they
look
could do.
So good.
I'm sure. That'd be
I've seen them in person at pen shows.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's upsettingly beautiful.
There you go. Well, that's my over $1,000 recommendation.
My over $1,000 recommendation, I went up to 1,300. Not way over 1,000, but
I mean, it's over 1,000. You can go as high as you want.
I know. But here's the thing: I would want the Monte Grappa Pirate pen.
There you go.
But that's not what I would say is the best. What I would say now, granted, David Parrish didn't ask.
He just said, "What are your picks?"
Yeah,
wasn't specific about picks for other people or picks for yourself.
I know. I
literally didn't interpret it.
I'm so glad. I was
purely
impressed.
For myself.
I interpreted it more as like recommendation, my picks.
That's how I interpreted it too. But now that I'm rereading it, I'm like, oh.
Because obviously you would say the Emperor Nightline Moontime Life.
The Nightlife Moontime. Sure, why not?
Life. But no, for just putting, taking off my selfish cap, I would say any of the Namiki Chinkin pens right at that $1,300 price range. So those are the flat top ones, which if it's not flat top, I don't want it. I'm just kidding. There's some. I do prefer flat top pens though. Those Chinkin pens I just adore. I think all of them are great. They've got like a pine one, they've got a cherry blossom one, and then they've got some cranes. I think there might be a fourth one, but
the bumblebee one.
I think that's in the higher price range.
Oh, you're talking like
I like
base level. Chinkin.
Yeah. $1,300. They're the smaller ones. They've got, I believe they've got the sword clip like on the 912, and I think the cherry blossom one is the best. I think that the visual appeal that Chinken, which is an engraving rather than what Makie is, which is, kind of a layering. I think that the engraving is so very clearly and plainly understandable in terms of how the handwork was applied in a way that we can all kind of understand and relate to, because we've all scratched something. Sometimes skillful painting is just so far beyond what most of us can comprehend. It's almost like hard to really wrap your head around just how difficult it was. But with Chinken, I feel like, at least me personally, I can understand very immediately the work that goes into them. When I hold one of these, it just melts my brain. So I love it. I do not own a Chinken, but one day I will. That is a dream of mine.
The pine one is cool. The cherry blossom one is
the pine. Like
too.
There are ones like there's the grass one and the pine one. It's certainly more detailed than the cherry blossom one, but there's something about just how the cherry blossom one is laid out.
Yeah,
it's more simple, but it just, I think, stylistically,
it does look beautiful.
Yeah, it's a stunning pen.
You're right. It does have the sword clip.
Yeah,
that looks cool.
Yeah, from a pilot standpoint, or Pilot Namiki design standpoint, that sword clip and the flat top, that is my jam.
Okay,
love it.
All right. Well, we're trying to spread the love on different brands, were we?
Oops.
Hey, they got range. What can you say?
Yeah.
All right. Well, what would y'all's choices be? Obviously, we would love to hear it. So let us know in the comments. All right. Allison La Nala. I hope I said that right. Drew, what are some other dusty inks other than Storm and Thunder Fluff? Rain Cloud Thunder Fluff, is that?
It's Rain Fluff and Thunder Fluff.
Rain Fluff, Thunder Fluff.
Rain Fluff is Sailor Ink Studio 123 because it's lighter. Thunder Fluff is Sailor Ink Studio 224 because it is slightly darker. Hence the thunder. Allison.
Because thunder is darker?
Generally.
It's a sound. It's not
a thunderstorm. Exudes a sense of darkness, Brian, of overcastness.
You know what makes it darker is the rain inside those clouds.
Anyway.
Not the thunder.
Oh my God.
I'm just being a pain.
Allison, ignore him.
Yep. This is your question. Sorry. I want to go in timeout.
Allison, I want to talk to you about, Brian, you can come back. It's okay. I want you to be here. Oh, no. Y'all go ahead and clap and believe in him so he can come back. No. Allison, let's talk about Robert Oster. There he is. Good job, everybody.
You believe in me.
I bet one person clapped. And then someone in their home was like, what are you doing? I'm clapping for Brian so we can come back.
Let us know in the comments if you clapped. What are we even doing here? This is ridiculous.
Let us know in the comments if you think we're ridiculous. All right. Let's talk about what Bobby O offers. And that I mean Robert Oster. So Robert Oster is my go-to place for dusty purples. We've talked about dusty purples in Poussière de Lune and also the 123-224. Love them all. Robert Oster, though, is the home of the dusty purple, and I'm going to tell you why. Let's start off with Violet Clouds and Violet Dreams, both lovely lavender inks, both with shimmer. I love the naming convention. They're easy to remember. Well, kind of. Violet Clouds is lavender with silver shimmer, and Violet Dreams is lavender with gold shimmer. Clouds, I feel, you can remember clouds being realistic. You've seen them before. Silver, right? Gold, a little more inaccessible to you. It's a dream, right? We all want gold. So that's how I remember it. That's how I will remember it as of right now when I made that up. Robert Oster Thunderstorm. Now, this one is less of a dusty lavender. It is more saturated, has a lot more blue in it. But I love writing the word thunderstorm, and this ink looks like I think a thunderstorm should look. It's way more blue, but I don't know. I don't want a thunderstorm to look gray. I want a thunderstorm themed ink from Robert Oster to have a little bit of blue purple in it, and Thunderstorm does it. It's much darker, way more blue, but still muted in a way. Once it in the swab, it looks dark. Once you get it into a pen, it's a little lighter. All of these, though, have great shading. There's something about these dusty purples that just nail it in terms of shading. And a lot of these have, a little bit of a duotone situation going on as well. So I think Thunderstorm by Robert Oster is a great representation of its name. Gray Seas is one that I have not used, but it's on my list. This one just looks like it sounds. And I can't really put my finger on why these names hit me the way they do, but all of these from Robert Oster evoke a sense of quiet to me. The only sound that's happening is the environment. You think of thunderstorm, you think of gray seas. You don't think of it's both kind of aggressive in terms of what nature is doing at the time, but it's also kind of calm and solitary in a way. So I don't know, maybe that's just me. I dig it though. Gray Seas hits me like that. I think that it's just a vibe and I like it. I'm going to use this one soon. Mystic Storm, I like. The name is rad, of course. Again, all of these stormy, thundery things just are all kind of part of the same Robert Oster color family, and I just love that he's doing this. You can tell that he's very passionate about this zone of colors because he gives them great names, and no other ink brand has as many kind of subsets in this color as Robert Oster does. So I really do think that if you like this style, Robert Oster is the place to go. Mystic Storm, going back to that. It is another darker one, kind of like Thunderstorm, but it has a little bit more of a purple vibe, and it has a lot of depth and a little bit more of a shading opportunity than Thunderstorm if you wanted to go a little bit lighter there. And of course, lighter. And Mystic Storm is a rad word to write. If you're like me and you kind of default to just writing the name of your ink whenever you're just fiddling around with your pens, Mystic Storm is super cool. And then we're going to round things up with Sydney Lavender. Not because it's my favorite, but because I like it and haven't tried it. Because it looks a little bit too similar to my favorite. So I will probably try Sydney Lavender at some point. But again, there's no storm in the name, right? It needs to have some sort of rainy vibe. But the one that does is Robert Oster Summer Storm. That is my favorite dusty purple from Robert Oster. Just okay. The color is beautiful. There's no shimmer. I love Violet Dreams and Violet Clouds. I don't use heavy shimmer a lot. It's just not my go-to. I do love them, but that's not my go-to. Summer Storm is my go-to dusty purple ink, and just one of my favorites from Robert Oster. The appeal is so much more than the color, in my opinion. The vibe, the name, the environment that it creates in my mind. You probably know I really dislike summer. The rain in the summer is just something special and clean, and it just kind of takes the heat away. It washes everything away. It just kind of like brings everything down a notch. The smell is unique and special, and the color, I think, represents how that feels to me. You know, it's not vibrant, it's not punchy, but I don't think it should be. It just perfectly evokes that vibe, that emotion, and that environment, more importantly. And writing to me is a super peaceful activity. I don't write when I'm not in a kind of chill mindset. I just don't. Whenever I'm writing, it either brings me at peace or I'm already in that mode and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to write, you know. And Summer Storm just fits my writing vibe. It fits kind of the mindset that I tend to be in when I do sit down with my pen and have a very calm, intentional writing session. So channeling a Summer Storm, like, I just think that kind of puts the punctuation on the emotional state I want to be in when I'm writing with my fountain pen. So it's a bit wordy, I know. I feel strongly about these colors, and I'm glad I do, because it makes it just one more fun thing to write about. But anyway, Summer Storm.
Awesome.
Yep. Dusty purples. Don't sleep on them. I slept on them for too long, and I regretted it, but now I'm on it, doggone it.
I'm like on and off with dusty purples. I quickly understood the hype around them and experienced it for myself with the first brand we ever picked up, which was Jacques Raban, Poussière de Lune. It's a gorgeous color. And what struck me about that, so I am drawn to like the really bright, vibrant, saturated, punchy colors.
Yep.
And that one is more of a shader. It definitely is like solid dusty purple. So when I'm writing with it, I'm like, oh, it doesn't like punch me in the eyes like I want to. But when it dries on the page and I go to like read back my notes, especially if it's on like a bright white paper, like it's a very pleasant read back experience.
Yeah.
Like those dusty purples, like it's got enough color to be interesting. You get good shading, but it's not so much that you're like, oh, I need sunglasses, like some of the other inks that I choose can be. So that one to me is like a go-to dusty purple that you got to try. Diamine Damson too. That's an oldie but goodie. Doesn't get talked about a ton, but it's a very similar color to Poussière de Lune, so that's a good Diamine alternative.
I've never written with that one.
It's a good one. It's a good one. I like Posio de Lune just a little bit more. So because that one exists, I'm like, okay, that's already like got the spot for me.
That's me
but
and Sydney Lavender. I'm
there
like,
you go.
Summer
There you
Storm's
go.
here. Why would I pick you?
And like since Robert Oster came on the scene, it's like there's a lot more dusty purples than there used to be. And then the other one is Rower and Cleaner Scabiosa. So that one's got some permanence to it, which is the nice thing about that. So if you want still a dusty purple, it's not as dusty.
It's a little more
as
vibrant.
these other ones. It's a little more vibrant, but it's not like a violet color. It's still very subdued. And you get decent shading, but you get a little bit of that water resistance to it as well. So that's a nice option as well. So those are 3 of my kind of go-tos.
I dig it.
Cool.
All right, you ready for number 5, Brian?
I don't know. Am I ready?
Well, we've got a bit of a twofer. So we got 2 people kind of ganging up on us here.
Okay.
But no, Andres Rosales said, what's the procedure for repackaging pens, etc., like the ones that we show in our videos? And then King Zarathus said in response, especially those that get inked up for nib testing or similar. Good question. Thereby endorsing the question and adding their curiosity to the answer.
Okay.
So,
all right.
How could we say no to both Andres and the King?
The King. So these are good questions because we don't show the repacking of things on camera.
No, we just have this giant pile here of old products that just need to be repackaged. It's about 3 feet high now.
Yeah, we'll get to it one day.
Yeah, maybe not.
We got to step over it every time we get around this table.
I start kicking it.
Yeah, whatever. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
No.
We've got some like a bunch of Lamy,
bunch of old dark lilacs.
Dark lilac, yeah. I couldn't say it fast enough. Dang it.
I knew where you're going.
Yeah.
We're kidding, y'all. We don't have any pens laying on the floor everywhere. Okay, so this is a good question. The reason we don't show the repacking of the pens on camera is because it's takes a long time and it's very boring. Basically, if we're not writing with a pen and we're just showing it, and it's not some kind of limited edition that has like stickers all over tissue paper and we've got to like rip it apart and ruin stuff. We will try not to open anything that has that situation going on. And usually that's like super like high-end limited edition stuff. And we will just not open the parts that have that kind of stuff. Everything else though, we can usually repack basically like new. Drew and I in particular have the most experience doing that. Crystal also has some pretty good experience, but if it's like one of these really high-end LEs, it's pretty much me or Drew that's going to do it. And it's always like whoever unpacks the thing repacks it because you need to know how it was unpacked and what it should go, what it should go back looking like. And basically it's like if we're holding the pen and touching it with our fingers, there will be fingerprints on it. So we have to wipe it all off. Essentially at the end of the day, we're basically making it look like new as if it had never been taken out of the package.
Yep.
That should be the goal for us. If we need to take it out of the package at all.
Or sometimes better.
Yeah. If ever we can't do that and we end up ruining something or we just don't feel, that it's a new condition pen anymore, we will bottom shelf it. Or I will keep it because I hoard everything. The high-end LEs, we try just not to ruin anything, but sometimes we'll have, things that are like wrapped in tissue paper, have like some kind of special thing or whatever that, it's like we end up ruining that thing. And sometimes we can get replacement, like inserts or replacement, like box sleeves or whatever it might be. If it's just for the packaging and presentation, sometimes we don't need to bottom shelf it just because of that. If the pen itself is perfectly fine, but it's just some element of the packaging, depending on the cost and the hassle, we might just replace that one part. But basically we just try to be really, 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 really careful so that it's like it never happened. For Nibnook is a different situation because we're actually inking out the pen. Now, first thing with Nibnook, so if you're not familiar with what the Nibnook is, it's our tool that we have that, I personally ink up every single pen and write with it. It's always Rhodia dot pad paper and it's always Noodler's black. It's consistent. It's always me writing it, even though over 15 years, I'm sure my handwriting has changed and I've been inconsistent, but at least we eliminated as many variables as possible.
Exactly.
Plus I like to do it. I have a love-hate relationship with the Nibnook, but I really like that I get to write with every single pen. Every time I sit down and do it, I'm like, I'm glad I'm doing this. And
But
then
every time you have to put it on your schedule,
every time I have to pack it up, I'm like, why am I doing this? Because that's always the worst part. Actually, though, in the last couple of years, as part of the process, when I nibnook something, I will have, our customer care team try stuff so that they also get to experience it so that they have more knowledge of it. And again, it's the same thing. Like we use it so lightly. We are professionals. We have a lot of experience handling a lot of pens. There's not anything that we're going to do to a pen writing it, especially me with the nibnook. I'm literally writing one line. There's nothing I'm doing that's like causing any wear or causing anything on the pen. It's probably actually less writing than they do when they test, pens at the factory. So it's kind of an extension of that. I take on that liability when I pull the pen out. If I do something weird with the pen, ultimately at the end of the day, I have to be accountable to that. If somebody gets it and they don't like it or whatever, and they return it, that's on me.
And we've worked with all of our manufacturers and distributors to get permission to do everything we've done.
Yeah.
In fact, in a lot of circumstances, they've even authorized us and, to do more, which we don't do, but that trust and that authority does exist, and like Brian said, a lot of it is just an extension of the quality control that already exists.
Yeah. Because I can see, like, in the back of my head, there's a little criticism of, like, you've opened that pen, you've used that pen, it's not new anymore. I can see that argument, but because we're an authorized seller and because we take that care and attention the same as the manufacturer would, and I'm taking that accountability, like we're going to pack it up as if it was new, just like you don't know how many people are handling it at the factory, before it's like in its final packaging. So it's sort of an extension of that a little bit, as long as we're doing it right. Now, if we're not doing it right, then that's on us. And we'll try, if it's anything, it's like any significant change, then we'll bottom shelf it. The only exceptions to that is like sometimes there's like an outer sleeve, or like, TWSBI with their stuff, there like might be a sticker that's over the thing. We might have to cut a sticker, or with Sailors, they come sealed in plastic. We might have to cut the end of the plastic, It's those kind of things that like, okay, we can't do what we need to do with that pen. Like even just photographing a Sailor pen, we have to cut it out of the plastic, you know what I mean? And we can't bottom shelf it just because it doesn't have, I guess we could bottom shelf it because it doesn't have the plastic sleeve, but that also is kind of insane because most pens don't come in sealed plastic sleeves.
Honestly, if you see a Sailor with a plastic sleeve that's been opened on one side, it's honestly had more care and attention put on it than...
There have been more people paying attention to that pen,
yeah.
Especially if it's one used for photo. The pen's got to be flawless.
Yeah.
So we're paying a lot of attention to that.
Yeah, that thing has been... there's not a speck of dust on that pen.
Yes. So for nibnook, I'm more sensitive to that because I'm actually like doing something with that pen. Oftentimes, especially if it's a new nib, I'm probably going to want to use and reference that nib. So for example, the Pilot Custom 823 that we got in most recently with the signature nib, I kept one. So the one I nibnooked was mine. So it never went back out to anybody else. Not all the nibnooks, but a not insignificant portion of the nibnook pens, I just end up keeping, or we keep, on hand reference for internal use. So it's actually not that common that we'll pack it up and send it back out.
It's very rare that we'll sell pens that have been written with. By us.
It's super rare. And again, if it is, it's just like, it's like we're just testing the pen. So again, you're probably getting a higher probability of getting a really good pen because we've had our hands on it. But again, making sure wiping everything down. If I'm using anything for the nibnook, and if I have any control whatsoever, especially like a cartridge converter pen, I will not use the factory cartridge that comes with the pen. I try to keep every part of the pen clean and untouched as possible. So I have all my own cartridges, all my own converters that I will use for any type of nibnook, any type of testing or whatever that needs to happen.
Sometimes you'll even just put a grip section on one of your other pens too.
I have done that before.
Yeah.
Sometimes I will take a nib unit if it's a pen that you can swap a nib unit out, I have not nibnooked TWSBI in a very long time because, we've had those for a long time and they haven't had new nibs. So, but yeah, when I originally did all the TWSBIs, I just used nib units and just swapped them out on my pen. So all it was nib unit. So, I'm paying attention to that kind of thing and trying to keep the whole pen as pristine as humanly possible. And then let's see here. Nothing that I'm ever doing or nothing that we're ever doing when we look at it is going to avoid a warranty or negatively impact the enjoyment of the pen.
And we've confirmed all this.
Yep. So that I think is pretty much it. Did we cover it all?
Just about. I will just also add that I've opened brand new pens many, many times. We're talking hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah.
And there
Probably
are
thousands.
there
I
are
don't
yeah
even
probably
know.
thousands.
Yeah.
There are fingerprints. Like most of these get touched by human hands at some point between the manufacturing process and when they end up in the box. So our community and our industry is small, and there are a lot of small companies, small businesses, that package these things up. And it's good. These pens do have a greater eye on them and a more personal eye on them. These aren't just like churned out by robots in a factory. A lot of human work goes into it, and so as a result of that, you are going to see some fingerprints here and there. But anything that we touch, we're going to make sure that thing is wiped clean, and you won't see that from us. On top of that, there are also quite a few brands that do test their pens. So if you find that your pen has a little bit of ink in it, it won't be from us, but it still might be there. I will say that Visconti often tests their pens. You might see some condensation in there or some ink in there. Lamy has been known to do that from time to time, especially with the pens that come with nibs. Their spare nibs don't do that, but if you get a nib that's already on a pen, you might have blue ink on the feed on the nib. It's very common. Magna Carta, hand tests all of his pens. You get the same sort of situation from Twisby, specifically their spare nibs, I've been told. So there's that. And then, of course, Esterbrook works with 4 different nib technicians on custom nibs. So they all ensure their quality with whatever method they see fit, up to and possibly including testing their nibs, which you would want them to do. So, and that includes Mark Bacchus's nibs on the Homo sapiens. So anything that has a custom nib on it, you can bet that those have been inked up as well. And it's not a bad thing. Like that's not a that's thing
part of the testing process.
That's helpful. I think you'd rather have something that's been tested with a little bit of ink than not. So Scribo, I believe, does theirs as well. So there might be more that do it, but overall, odds are if you see any sort of residual ink, it's probably from the factory, either consistently tested or intermittently quality tested. You might have just gotten one that they pulled to decide to check. It's probably not from us, because we are pretty obsessive about making sure that these things are like new, up to and including letting the pens sit out and air dry so that there's not even a drop in there.
Yeah. Also, compressed air can come in handy when trying to get, because the worst is when you have vacuum filling pens, because it's like those things never get dry. That's why anytime we use a vacuum filling pen, it's like if I can remove the nib unit, I will, or I'll just keep the pen. Like it's just not, it's not worth it, because like to clean out a vacuum filling pen totally brand new, it's almost impossible. It just seems like it defies physics, because no matter what, anytime you push that piston down,
it has to air dry for like a week.
Air spritz is going to come out of it again. You're like, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
Anyway. So yeah, that's what we got. So yeah, good question though. I mean, it definitely takes some time, but we're also not like cracking these things open all the time.
No.
I mean,
mostly for photography. Like that's when
photography is when it happens the most. Yeah. But we're not inking most of those up. And then with the random pen that we'll do here in the video, which is a great segue. Before we get the segue though, pencast@gouletpens.com is the place to email if you have questions, or leave them in the comments on YouTube. Okay, continuing the segue, we have a pen spotlight for the Sheaffer Icon, which I am going to write with. So because I have to do the nib nook for it. So you'll get to see some of the experience as we do it. So let's check out the Sheaffer Icon. This is the Sheaffer Icon. It's a newer pen. We carried Sheaffer years ago, but the Icon was not a thing at that time. We had the 100, we had the 300, and some other ones, but
it's got that signature white dot up there.
It does. That's Sheaffer's thing.
And a very vintagey looking grip section.
Absolutely. Yeah, the hooded nib. I feel like most hooded nibs kind of looks vintage anyway. But yeah, like the Sheaffer kind of logo. Right,
I feel like they used to have like a metal grip section
cool.
that kind of had that line on it that said Sheaffer. Or maybe I'm thinking of something else.
I mean, they tend to have metal grips on all their pens. And I believe this one is metal too, but it's coated. So it doesn't feel like that slick, cold, metal. Steel nib, skinny little nib. I don't know what it looks like on the inside, because if it is possible to pull it out, I have not done it yet.
Yeah.
This is my personal pen. So I have the blue one that I wanted to keep because it's blue, of course. But we have the new red one. So I thought that would be cool. And we just got in the fine nibs on these, which we've never written with. So I thought, what better opportunity than to show you all first what it looks like and then ink it up, because I'm going to need to ink it up for the nib nook anyway. And yeah, so here's the red, which again, it really pops. So this comes in an open sleeve. Cool. There's the box. Neat.
Again. And this is kind of the inverse of the black one. The black one is like mostly black with red highlights, and this one's all red with black highlights.
I like the clip too, how it's got that little accent color on the clip as well.
For over here, I thought that maybe there was just a hole in the clip.
No, it's it's colored. Yeah,
I see.
So that's kind of cool. Yeah, but the red, it pops. It's a nice red. It's not just a flat color. It's got a little bit of sparkle to it.
Oh, yeah.
So I really like that. You know, kind of like a car finish might have.
Yeah, you can see that.
A little bit, just a little bit. Not crazy.
No.
But just enough to give it a little.
It's not flat.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the fine nib. So coming off of the question that we just answered. So this comes with the Sheaffer cartridge converter, which is proprietary to them. I'm going to remove the one that it comes with and put it back in the box. And I'm going to take mine that I have, and I'm going to put it on here because I'm going to ink it up for the nib nook.
There you go. And that's a pretty dark converter, so now you don't have to worry about getting all the ink out of it.
You wouldn't really be able to tell if it was, you know, super dirty or anything anyway, but that's good. So I gave the bottle just a little bit of a shake. Again, I'm not actually doing the nib nook here, but I am just going to ink it up. And I'm not going to do like a super full inking because that's just wasting some ink, and it's just more to have to clean out. So I'll usually just do up a little bit. I'm not sure if I even got it all the way down in there because I shook it up and now the ink is sticking to the side of the bottle. And oh yeah, that's definitely got a lot of ink in there now. Okay, so there you go. So I filled it up, got ink on the grip now, which I need to get my paper towel one-handed, which is always fun. There you go, Drew. You go. 2 one-handed folks. All right. That's like a huge sheet. Okay. I like the little half sheets.
Oh yeah, that's what we have at home.
And then I fold them like this.
Whatever Costco has.
There you go. These are Bounty, if that matters for anybody.
Oh.
I am a little bougie when it comes to the paper towels for pen purposes, because some paper towels is so thin, you go to tear it and it always like tears into a half a sheet, and you're like, what is this garbage? And then it doesn't quite like absorb stuff well enough. But I like the Bounties. I'm just sticking with those. No. Not promoted. Hashtag not sponsored.
I've started using a reusable paper towel for my pen stuff, and
I use that for cleaning.
That thing is covered in ink.
I don't.
But I rinsed it for the first time the other day. A lot of ink came out, and then it's been good. So I'll give it a couple more, and then I'll get another one. Like they're in a roll, so they're still like halfway disposable, but still reusable.
I've used a couple different types like that, and some of them I feel like are not that absorbent.
I mean, it's definitely not as absorbent as paper, but it does the job.
Yeah. So I'm just doing a few little dots. Oh, that's pretty fine.
That's very fine. Yeah.
It's really fine.
I like it.
And it's smooth. We'll trade you. I'm going to have you write with this thing too.
Nice.
I am surprised at how fine that is, to be quite honest with you.
That would be an extra fine in some like pens. Like honestly, that looks just as fine, if not more fine than a Lamy extra fine.
The Sheaffer
Icon.
Icon. Oh, I'm so bad with the number of humps. The word community, Lord help me.
Oh yeah, community.
Yeah, this is how I write community. Community.
Oh, there you go.
That's it.
Nailed it.
Community.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
It's perfect.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I'm very pleasantly surprised. That is.
I mean, I can definitely hear it, but it's not scratchy.
I don't hear it any more than I don't hear any other nib. Here, let's trade.
Yeah.
You write with it because you're the fine nib guy. Like you're the one who uses extra fines with pleasure. I use them with displeasure. What is your professional assessment?
I love it. Definitely not as fine as it could be, but
For a fine nib though. So you're writing a little faster than me. How's the flow keeping up with it?
That's great.
And this is a fresh inking too, so I would imagine
a little skip there, but I was going super fast.
A little bit. Okay.
Yeah. A little skippy. Yeah, if you go super fast, it doesn't hang in there, but
that's probably because that little thin feed is only going to keep up at such a speed. Also, too, what I find that happens sometimes is depending on how like the filler hole is set up. Like whenever I do the nib nook, I will usually write out almost like a page, kind of like this. I'll just write with the pen a whole bunch just to make sure that I've got like a steady flow going through the feed. Because sometimes you ink it right up and it's like super wet, or, the feed's kind of saturated, but it hasn't really started flowing through consistently.
I think I'm holding this thing at a really weird angle. That might have something to do with.
It is. It may be sensitive to the angle. I don't know. But this is live ammo here that we're firing. I mean, there's a new pen. We just took it off the shelf, and neither of us have written with this before.
Yeah, that's solid. I enjoy that.
Do you find this? So the skipping and stuff you're getting, does it feel like it's because it's like sensitive to?
I think it might be a little sensitive to rotation. Yeah.
Okay, let me just try and see if I'm getting. Okay. Happy birthday. Oh, when I write fast, my handwriting goes to crud.
That's fine, because it looks fast and people don't judge you as much. Yeah, so yours isn't doing it. So it must have been something to do with my rotation.
I'm trying to run as fast as I can.
Yeah, I was trying to like make sure that it was.
So if I rotate, let's see if I'm trying to rotate it a little bit. I'm definitely getting less consistency with rotation. More so when I rotate to the left than when I rotate to the right.
Yeah,
might
have been what I was doing.
Yeah, it could be that, but I mean, I'm getting pretty consistent. But
I did learn at Pilot's table last year at the DC show that I do have a rotation that need to work on a little bit. There we go. Iconic.
That's the Sheaffer Icon. So, I'm gonna play with that one a little bit more. I kind of dig that fine nib now. See,
it's pretty fun. Oh, we need to move the paper towels. They're in the shot now.
There you go. Product placement.
That's right.
Anyway, so check it out. $51. I mean, what can you get anywhere for $51?
Oh, no, that one. No, that's the.
That one's more, right?
108.
108.
Yeah.
108. Okay, there you go. There you go.
The 100 was 51.
Oh, you're right.
Yep.
You're right. My bad. So never mind that. 108. Still.
But still, the Sheaffer 100 in coffee brown.
That is also, that's cool. All right, Drew. What is happening?
Stuff and things.
Stuff and things?
Yeah, things and stuff and things. So let's see. I recently, as we're filming this, then the following day, following this recording, I will be bringing in a foam core poster board for Archer to his his summer camp program, because he told his, they do archery on Wednesdays, and he told his archery person that when he got his bow and arrow at home, I drew a couple zombies for him to shoot at. Mm-hmm. And the archery teacher was like, well, he should draw one for us to shoot at. So he told me this. Awesome. Is like, Dad, you need to go to Michael's and get some foam core and draw a zombie. I'm like, what? What do you? So I did that. And by zombie, it means it's Eddie from Iron Maiden. The Iron Maiden. That's the only zombie I know how to draw. Immediately what
I picture, yeah.
So I did that. But this time I'm like, all right, since I know this is going to be a target, I'm going to give him 2 weapons. So he's got like double axes, one above his head, one kind of like in the middle of his chest. So I'm like, even if the kids miss him, they can still disarm him. So
there you go. Okay.
Either literally or figuratively, since he's a zombie and his limb integrity is probably suspect. So I got to bring that in tomorrow. So anyway, I'll show a picture of that. I did take a picture of that.
Well, I know from Walking Dead that if you shoot them in the head with an arrow, that will end them.
Great.
According to
good to know
that TV show.
Good to know. And I've been doing some more sewing. So I've been working on just adding some random stitches to Archer's Mandalorian flight suit. So that's continuing. I'm just kind of enhancing the look of it, make it look less like a navy blue, mechanic outfit.
Yes.
So just kind of zhuzhing it up a little bit, even though I'm starting to think about where the armor is going to be. I'm like, most of this is probably going to get covered up, but whatever. I got nothing else to do. I'm spreading all my Halloween purchases out through several paychecks. So I'm not, being irresponsible. So I've just got plenty of time. So I'm like, all right. I bought all the things that need to be purchased. Everything else is just basically making things. Yeah. So I didn't want things to run out or go out of stock because of people buying Halloween stuff. So still working on that. He needs to have like a sleeveless sort of over vest thing that I'm using. I bought just a white sweatshirt that I'm going to, we're going to weather a little bit, but he wanted to be navy blue and white. So that was white. Cool. Cut the sleeves off, tucked them in so it wasn't just like cut off look. So I tucked them in on itself
right.
and then kind of hemmed them, and they look pretty good. Like they don't look ratty. And so I thought like, oh well, how about I do the same thing to the collar that I did with the sleeves?
Mm-hmm.
And I did. It looked even better. It looked
Yeah.
nice and uniform.
Nice.
However, as soon as I did that, I thought, okay, this thing needs to go over his head. I just put a thread in the middle of like kind of sweatshirt style collar. And I said, Archer, come here for a second. Let me put this on your head.
Oh no.
And of course I did. It was like, pop, 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 pop.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm like, I just nodded. He was like, what happened? I'm like, no, it's fine. I knew that I was going to do that.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and undid that. So we won't worry about that. But I was
Okay.
like, as soon as I finished, I was like, this is dumb. This isn't going to work at all. What am I
Oh,
thinking?
jeez.
So if it was wide and it didn't have to like stretch over his head, it would have been
Yeah,
fine. So
right,
yeah,
right.
whatever. Not important. So still working on that. And there will be a lot more Halloween work going forward. My aunt's birthday was Saturday, so we went over her house and celebrated there. Family gathering, which is normally we do them at my grandmother's house, so this was special. So that was nice.
Cool.
Always a pleasure seeing all of them. And my other aunt from came down from out of town, so it was nice to see everybody in the same
Nice.
place. And then later that night, my brothers and I met up and watched UFC 30 something. I don't know which one it was, but yeah, always fun there.
Cool.
And then oh wait, now's the time for discount codes, Brian. I told y'all if you hung up, I'm just
Easter egg.
Yeah. Anybody listen to me ramble on about my weekend? You deserve it. All right, we're gonna do a double one this week, Brian.
What?
Because it's been so long. And don't put a timestamp on this. All right, y'all deserve this. Anyway, they're just ink samples. Anyway, you get to pick between one free ink sample. You get to pick between two ink samples, but you can only have one. The first one, obviously, is going to be Robert Oster Summer Storm, because I was yapping about that. So if you place an order and it's at least $5, you can type the word summer in all caps under the little promo code promotion discount box in the checkout screen. And if you don't want that, you can also choose one of Brian's favorite inks, Robert Oster Blue Water Ice. So that's
a good one.
That code is going to be water. So type in water in all caps for Blue Water Ice ink sample for free in your next order, or all caps summer for Robert Oster Summer Storm in your next order. Or if you want to place two orders and get them both, you can do that too.
That's true.
Either way, there you go. Turkey hammock, pizza time, Taco Bell. All right.
And we may or may not tally up which one does better
to
determine whether
we definitely will tally
you
up.
like me or Drew better.
Oh, yes,
I'm just
absolutely.
kidding. That was fun.
Yeah. And then Sunday, my brother had a birthday event. His birthday was last weekend, but we couldn't do anything. So we did it this weekend. And we went out to a pho restaurant that he wanted to go to.
Okay.
It was called Pho-tato. And it's just in a house. It's just like not a restaurant. I don't even know if it's zoned properly. I have no
I
idea.
feel like half the pho restaurants I've eaten in have been like, is this a restaurant?
It's not even in a it's in a residential area.
It's not in like a commercial district.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, maybe they converted it,
Are
but
you like driving into like a neighborhood?
kinda like it's behind
that's a
it's
little
behind a commercial building, but
Okay.
next to it to the left and the right, I don't know if those are businesses. I think they might also be houses. Anyway, it was good. It was tasty. At first, I
Yeah?
got in there and it was so hot. I'm like, I do not want soup. I'm gonna just get a bowl of rice and let it get cold and eat that. But
cold
luckily
rice.
one of my brothers was a little late, as he likes to do. And then by the time he showed up, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm fine. I'll get some pho.
There you go.
So it was good. Archer came with us because Shannon had a show, and she had to basically rehearse all day. So it was either go with your mom, sit in the audience and play video games, or come with your dad and go eat, or go not eat pho and then go to Top Golf. So I gave him the option, like, hey, either you can have like some rice with some stuff in it, because I know he's not going to eat pho, or you can have something at Top Golf, which is probably going to be cheese fries. And he said, I want cheese fries. So no surprise there. He sat quietly, and we all had some fun, and then went to Top Golf in Richmond. So
Nice.
that was a delight. Archer actually did really well. He's good at aiming. Like when he hits the ball, it goes where he wants it to, more or less.
I mean, that's good.
If he aims close by. Obviously, he can't hit it far, but
Okay.
it was one of those games where we were trying to hit certain targets, and he was like aiming in the general direction every time, which is a lot
bad.
more than I can do
Not
sometimes.
bad. I'm terrible at that stuff.
My brother Zach's a lot like you. He just wants to destroy it every time.
I'm not trying to destroy it.
Oh, you're not?
I can't help myself. Well, sometimes
okay.
Sometimes I'm trying to destroy
Well,
it.
like I remember last time we went, like your speed of the ball was like consistently way higher than anyone else's.
Well, my aim more than makes up for that difference.
Well,
like I try to aim and I am just so far off anyway. I'm like, well, let me just
obliterate it. Yeah, that's kind of what he was doing.
Yep.
But I got to the point where I was using the pitching wedge and I was just trying to hit it up and in, that actually gets a lot of points because you can get in the middle of certain targets.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if it rolls into the target, you only get that outside value.
I didn't know that.
But if you plop it in the middle, well, it depends on what game you're playing.
Okay.
But I was just like, boo, 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 not hitting it very far, but consistently.
I mean, that's what it's for.
Yeah, it was fun. I'd never used that one before.
Yeah.
And then, my wife did a event at the Richmond Triangle Players Community Theater. It was like this Habitat for Humanity thing. So, she just volunteered. So we went to see that night. I was almost late because I fell asleep. I was so tired after Top Golf. I just like flopped on the love sack with the dogs and woke up in just enough time to get there on time.
Wow.
But I was kind of freaking out because I do not want to miss her performance. So, but anyway, she did that. It was hilarious. Got a lot of talented people up there, cool. Trying to raise money and whatnot. And then, then we came home and watched House of the Dragon on Sunday night, as is what we do now. And they've got one more episode, and then it'll be another 2 years before the next season of House of the Dragon. And that's
a long time to wait.
Man, it's like it's like watching a movie, these shows. And I get how long it takes. I don't want them to skimp on the quality, because if these CG dragons didn't look as good as they did, like you wouldn't be believable at all. Like they have to look movie quality. It would look
like a Sci-Fi Channel show.
And it's the production value is just so up there. Yeah. And I get it. It's like making, the equivalent of...
It takes time.
Yeah, it's like making the equivalent of like 5 movies, Yeah. So I understand it, but that doesn't mean I like it. It's so difficult to... Because if you tell me like, hey, this movie came out, but guess what? They already announced a sequel. It'll be done in 2026. You're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But since it's a TV show, it's kind of like, no, I don't like that. How long has it been? 2 years for Severance?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
It's painful, right?
It came out during COVID.
See, Severance, I feel like they have less of an excuse.
I think it's been 3 years already.
That thing takes place in a white room. Like, do they really need to take that long?
Well, we don't know what's going to happen because they haven't released the next one.
I doubt they have dragons, though.
They got hit hard with the writer's strike.
Oh, right.
So that set it back quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we're rewatching, Game of Thrones proper. So that's going to kind of, have to take up that spot in our souls for a little bit. But that's what we've been doing.
Nice.
And then, this week I'm just kind of focusing on making sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed for the audio stuff we need to bring for our Pencast. So that is coming. That is coming. This is coming. That is coming, but not on that.
Nope.
So I've got my list. I'm going to be checking it twice and thrice and more than that.
Quadrice?
Oh, I even wrote down the headphones because we don't want any audio coming out of the monitor. So I'm getting the headphones.
Last week, for whatever reason, the external monitor that we use to look at ourselves because we're vain, I'm just kidding, to make sure our framing is good, it just starts echoing whatever it is that we're saying.
I didn't think it was happening at first.
Really
Only
quiet.
He heard it. I'm like, you're losing it, buddy. But then I heard it.
So it happened like after you're talking, and then as soon as you stop, I would hear like a little trail of it, and I was like, what is that? And then we finally realized that's what it was.
And we couldn't fix it.
We can't find the setting to turn it off. So we were like, let's just plug in headphones and then we won't be able to hear it.
So it's coming out of those headphones right there, right now. And we're just going to deal with that. And so if you're at the DC Pen Show and you see random headphones dangling from the monitor, you're going to know why. Because we're audio experts here at the Goulet Pencast.
Yes, we aren't. All right.
That's it for me.
That's it for you?
What you got going on, man?
I actually did some stuff.
I know you did.
Normally, I'm just sitting around doing nothing.
Classic Brian.
But this time I went somewhere
Sedentary
and did
Brian.
something. You know me. So I was basically not here very much because on Thursday we drove up to Northern Virginia because that's where Rachel's family is from. And we spent the weekend up there, including until like 9:15 on Monday night. So we were gone
And you're going to do it again
The
this
whole
weekend.
thing. Yep. And I'll be on for the DC Bench show. Yep. So I'm not home very much these days, which is why I'm not talking about home projects that I'm doing and why I haven't hung that toilet paper holder yet. But we watched some Olympics because that's a thing. Rachel's mother studied abroad in Paris. She was a French major in college. So like the Olympics being in Paris is like her dream come true. So she's loving it, seeing all the clips of all the buildings and stuff. And it's a good time. I brought my bike up, did some cycling while I was up there. I brought my Barry sax up there, did some saxing while I was up there. So keeping up with all the hobbies that are portable. Couldn't do any woodworking. Brought a puzzle, did some puzzling.
You had to have brought up like random fix-it tools, right? Because like that's part of your process. You go up there and be like, what needs done?
I didn't do that much of that this time. Yeah. Because we just had a lot going on with like family time.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So I didn't do as much of the fixing stuff around the house, but that's okay. That's okay.
Okay.
That's like if we don't have plans.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna be kind of sitting around. I'm like, I need to be doing something.
But you did have plans.
Did have plans.
Boy, did you.
Yes, indeed. Went to the pool a couple times, whatever. The kids went to a cat cafe. I don't know if you've ever heard of those or been to one.
I have not.
It is basically you go there and it's a giant room full of cats and kittens.
With food?
No.
Oh.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think there was food involved. I wasn't participating there because I was busy, and I'll tell you where in a minute. But yeah, they just had a bunch of cats, and the kids basically just got to pet and love on a bunch of cats for like an hour.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
I want one with wombats.
I don't know how like huggable wombats
I don't think they are.
Probably
they
not.
can be a little mean.
They're kind of wild animals,
they
I
are.
think. They do have cube-shaped poop, though.
I've heard that. I've seen that, yes.
That's a random fact that I stumble across.
Yeah, I saw a video recently with a wombat like attacking an ear of corn. I'm like, those could be some fingers. Yeah, but still, I love them. It'd be worth it.
Fair enough. So the main event, the reason why we were up there this weekend in particular is because, we hit our 40th birthday earlier this spring. And as a birthday gift to each other, we decided to do an experience as opposed to buying stuff.
Because you normally buy so much stuff for each other.
No, we're pretty bad. I mean, I buy stuff, but right. I'm normally like, hey, Rachel, so I bought this thing. Should I just like call this my Father's Day gift or birthday gift or whatever? And she's like, yeah, let's do that. Because she doesn't want to have to learn my weird hobbies, and I don't want to have to explain it to her. So it really ends up working out quite well. But this one was different. It was like, all right, it's 40.
Y'all saved up. Yeah.
I feel like we should do something.
Heck yeah. Something
just notable, rather than I literally couldn't name you a thing that's happened on my birthday, like since I was a child. But we found that there was a concert, a tour, if you will, called the Summer of '99 tour. So this was stopping by the Jiffy Lube up in Bristow, Virginia. Jiffy Lube Live. It's not really a stadium. Amphitheater. And it was going to be 3 bands from the 90s, alternative rock bands, of which Rachel and I followed back in the day. So opening was Finger 11, which I didn't really know them that much.
I remember hearing about them.
They had a couple songs, and I was like, oh, yeah.
Y'all did
I've
that?
heard that song. Yeah. And then 3 Doors Down after that, which I covered Kryptonite with my band back in the day. Yeah, that was their big hit.
I thought that was Creed.
Nope.
Oh.
No, that was 3 Doors Down. So I already was like, okay, that song,
Yeah, I've heard that.
I remember playing it. I was playing bass and I sang. That was fun, but they also had a bunch of other songs. I was like, oh, I know this song. Like I knew a lot of their songs.
I probably think they're all Creed.
You might. The singer sounds a little bit, but
yeah. Now that I think about it, it is different. I don't know why
it is kind of different. I don't know. They kind of meshed together, but they did 13 songs. Like there was like no talking in between. They were just like boom, 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 boom. They just wanted to pump them out. So that was cool. But then the main event, the headliner was Creed, which, Rachel and I liked Creed back in the day. I feel like Creed was super popular, and then everybody kind of was like, it wasn't cool to like it anymore for a little bit.
They didn't
not quite as bad as like a Nickelback.
That's what I was about to say.
But a little bit of that.
Yeah.
It had a little bit of that flavor. And then, Scott Stapp, the lead singer, had some stuff. The band broke up. They sort of reunited back in 2009, put out another album, did a little tour, and then they broke up again. So it's kind of been an on again, off again kind of a thing. But part of the reason why we wanted to go is because Mark Tremonti, the lead guitarist, he's in another band called Alter Bridge. In fact, everybody except Scott Stapp is in. So when that all fell apart, the other 3 members then got a new lead singer and they started Alter Bridge.
Wow, it's like most of them.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So
okay.
that's why we like it, and it's a little bit harder, not quite as like radio friendly.
Gotcha.
It's not like dirty or anything like that, but it's it's just more like rock.
Yeah. Less poppy.
So yeah, definitely less pop. Not that Creed is really poppy, but a little more more metal.
Yeah, I think at the time they were probably considered, I mean
they were definitely rock.
Yeah,
but you didn't know how radio songs
can rock
need
kind
to
of be pop though?
Oh, absolutely rock and be pop. Yeah, for sure. But not pop pop at that time was like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and Britney Spears.
Oh, you're right.
Christina Aguilera.
I guess enough time goes by, everything kind of gets lumped into pop together. Because,
it's like a catch-all.
Yeah. But I would say that they're definitely definitive. If it's called Summer of '99, like
it was
Creed needs to be in there.
Well, these were like 3 bands that were all like basically reunited.
Yeah.
From that era.
That's awesome.
And it was pretty fun. I got a shirt. It's got a clock on it.
Nice.
Because it's it's like a throwback kind of a vibe. But part of what we did, that was special. And we bought really good seats because it's like, we don't go to a lot of things. Rachel's got anxiety around traveling and all that kind of stuff. So, it's hard for her to go somewhere unless she like really wants to go. So I was like, if we're going to go to this thing, let's really do it right. So we got nice seats. We were like 8th row back after the pit, you had the pit, but then like 8th row back right in the middle, perfect view, right at stage height. And I was like, this is how you do it. But then we got to do a guitar workshop with Mark Tremonti, who we love. He is a super nice guy, super generous.
How many people were in this workshop with you?
Like 30.
Okay.
So it was
like a classroom.
Fairly intimate. Yeah. There wasn't even like microphone or anything. He was just talking, and literally he was like teaching guitar licks and, had his stuff, and we could ask him questions and stuff like that. So it was like a very intimate setting kind of a thing, which was so cool. And then we got to get a picture with him, which I'm sure we'll show here. Such a nice guy, though. But we've literally been following his work for 25 years.
Does he look like way different than you remember? Or
no, we've been following him this whole time.
Oh, okay.
So we know what he looks like, but he's just like super nice guy. So, and very generous with his time. And apparently he like used to do these workshops all the time, but when COVID happened, they couldn't do them anymore. So it's like, he's just starting to do them again. So he was really excited to be able to do that. But man, just like looking at their schedule, I was like, how do these musicians do it? Because they had just come from Charlotte, North Carolina. And then I think it was like maybe 2 days prior. And then they had that concert. He was doing the workshop with us, doing the whole concert thing, and then was performing the next day in Virginia Beach with another guitar workshop. And I was like, this is like a crazy pace. And he's in 3 different bands. He's in Creed, Alter Bridge, and he has his own project.
Alter Bridge is still around?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
They're still a thing. But like everybody's in multiple bands. Mm-hmm. So they'll have like kind of 3-year off and on tour. So they call it kind of like cycle and rotate out.
So is it still like Alter Bridge, is that still everybody but Scott Stapp?
Yeah.
I wonder if that makes him feel weird.
I don't know. They've like been able to work it out, I guess.
It's like your friends are always hanging out without you.
I'm sure there's some awkward moments in there, but it's also been 25 years. So I think, there's probably some healing and some stuff like that that's happened. But I don't know. It was kind of cool. So I knew about the guitar workshop. And then when they advertised it too, it was like, they said we'd also get to like go backstage and see his like rig and setup and stuff like that. But I didn't know that he would be doing the tour with his rig and setup. So he like continued on. So we spent like 2.5 hours with the guy, and we got to go on the stage. So this is like hours before. This is when they're doing the sound checks and all that kind of stuff. And all the crew's walking around, they're stringing guitars, they're setting up the amps and everything. I got to like see the drums up close, which were awesome. And, so he plugged in his guitar, he was showing us his pedal setup and, all this stuff. And it was just like, this is like insane. This is mind blowing. I'm so glad we did this. And then Scott Stapp comes up and with his son, who's like, I don't know, 6 or 7 or something like that. And he's like showing his son around stage, and we're like, oh, hey, hi. And we got to meet him. And it was just like, this is wild. This is wild. But they're just people. I mean, they're really just regular people. So I didn't like fanboy out too much, but I was just like, this is cool. This is memorable. So I like took pictures of me and Rachel like on the stage, like looking out at the audience, just being like, we're literally on the stage here.
When you were there,
so
did you see anybody sitting on the stage during the show, like to the left or the right?
Sitting on the stage?
Yeah.
Like spectators?
Yeah. Like when I saw Sammy Hagar at Jiffy Lube last weekend, if I look all the way to the left, I could see some people in
there
folding chairs. Yeah, they're pretty off. Like we were over to the right, so I could see people on the left. But yeah, they definitely sold some seats on the stage.
On the stage?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that was like family members or something.
Maybe.
Of the band. It could have been like people with the band.
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
I'm still surprised to see it.
Or it could have been like people on the crew who are like, like roadies who are like cleaning up. Or
I definitely saw some like
just regular
moms.
People.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Huh. I don't recall seeing anybody there, but I don't know. We were front and center, so I didn't get to see anybody in the wings.
Where I was at, it was more of a direct shot to the left.
Gotcha. Interesting. So it was cool, just very memorable. And it was like, okay, this is a good thing. I was like, we're going to be like old and decrepit and be like, you remember when we did that? That was pretty cool.
Rachel has been talking about Mark Tremonti since I've known her.
Oh, yeah. For sure. I mean, she's a rocker gal. Like that was part of when we met. We both played bass guitar and sang, and we both had the same bass amplifier. We bonded over that.
Nice.
SWR Working Man's 15, just in case you're curious. It was a 15-inch bass amp, and it was very large.
That's probably not something people would expect initially meeting Rachel.
Right. No, she's a rocker chick. She was in a band called That Chick Band in high school with her sister and her sister's friend, and they were cool. They did one gig, but it was cool. All girl band. Yeah, she's great. She was big into like Josie and the Pussycats and that kind of stuff. So,
nice.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, we were both like following Creed before we even met, and it was just really cool. I covered "What If," the Creed song, with my band too, back in the day. So that was awesome. And Mark Tremonti's real big on like alternate tunings too. So he showed us a bunch of his alternate tunings and how he practices his licks and stuff like that. And I was like, gosh, this is incredible. He's really talented. But also he's like, yeah, I'll just, practice this lick for like 6 straight hours a day for, 3 months until it's muscle memory. And then, I don't have to think about it anymore. And I'm like, yep, that's
the easy way to do it. Yeah.
That's what it takes to be that good. It's like, you don't just, you have to have raw talent, but then you also, you play all the time. And I'm like, this guy has like 4 different projects at a time. And he's just on the road all the time. And I was like, he must really love it. But it was cool. It was a sold out show. There were 22,000 people there. So it was pretty good number of people. It was just an experience being there. And like everybody was singing along to these songs because they're all like throwback. There's a whole bunch of middle-aged folks and some middle-aged plus. Not a ton of kids there, but there were some. It wasn't a super rowdy crowd or anything,
I saw a 76-year-old playing Van Halen last weekend, yep. So yeah, I know.
Yeah, they can rock.
We were some of the youngest people in the audience.
You know what's funny too is when we saw Iron Maiden a couple of years ago, there was this guy, stark white hair. He's got to be in his 80s probably.
The guy without a shirt?
No shirt.
Yep.
Tattoos all over him.
I remember.
I saw him at this concert too. Yep. Saw him at this concert. As we were leaving, I was like, Rachel, that's the guy. That's the tattoo guy.
I remember him. Oh yeah.
Apparently he goes to a lot of shows, but
Wow.
Yeah, so it's funny. Anyway, I did not take a picture of him because that would be weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of fun. So anyway, that was super memorable. We did a bunch of other family stuff too that I won't get all into, but that was definitely not the kind of thing that I get to do all the time. And it was sort of a bucket list thing.
I'm so glad y'all went.
Cool.
I'm so, when y'all first told me about that, I was so just overjoyed that y'all are just going to do something for yourselves. Like you don't do that nearly enough. Like
we don't.
So it was not only awesome that you like just splurged a little bit on a frivolity, but did it with something that meant so much to both of you, like kind of collectively. Like I think that's just so cool.
Oh, it was so cool. Like Rachel was like singing her heart out.
Oh, I'm so glad.
All that kind of stuff. I was trying to sing, but I can't memorize words to save my life. So I was like, I
know. When we were at Sammy Hagar, I was like really hoping my brothers wouldn't turn and look at me because they knew everything. I'm just like I know this song.
Yeah.
But
all the words.
I felt like I promise I like this just as much as you guys. I just don't remember.
Especially like rock songs. And Scott Stapp's got like a heavy, like, kind of like was it from Pearl Jam? You know, it's got kind of that like, you know, he's got that kind of thing going on. So half the words I'm like, what?
Kurt Cobain.
Yeah. So, anyway, very distinctive. But boy, I tell you, they still got it, man. Scott Stapp, he's such a good front man. He was just like super like present, like he was fully into it.
I wonder if someone has a name for that style of vocals, because it woke up during the 90s with Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
The Bare Naked Ladies did it as well, and then Scott Stapp does it. It's just you know.
Yeah, what is that?
But then it stopped. No one does it anymore.
No one does it anymore?
But like, what?
What is that?
Yeah,
I don't even know how to like Google that. Like, how do you?
Yeah, somebody has a term for it. Like, I bet you there's some musical expert that says, "Oh yeah, that's the 90s voice." I don't know, but yeah.
I don't remember the guy from Pearl Jam, but let's see. What would you call the voice? The style employed by Eddie Vedder, Scott Stapp, and others has become known as the Jarl.
Jarl.
The Jarl.
Oh my God, I'm so glad there's a word for that.
This is according to Quora, so take it for what it's worth.
The Jarl.
Let's see here. Blah, 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 blah.
Once there was this girl who...
That's right. Oh, man. Yeah, Eddie Vedder. That's from Pearl Jam. Yeah.
Oh, wait. Oh, Nirvana is what I'm thinking of. Oh, God, yes. No, sorry.
No, that was different.
That's Kurt Cobain.
He wasn't yarling.
No, God.
His was more like kind of mumbling.
I get Eddie Vedder and Kurt Cobain mixed up.
Yeah, I mean, Eddie Vedder was like the one that was really known for it. And then Scott Stapp definitely had some of that too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Jarl. Now we know.
Jarl.
That's the fun fact. That's the
Jarl.
Fun fact. Jarl. That's perfect.
Can you take me higher?
Jarl.
Oh yeah. Meow.
Yeah, I mean,
that.
You could say James Hetfield from Metallica does that every now and then.
He does some of it too.
Yeah.
He does Jarl.
Not so much anymore. Like, kind of like load reload time. He was doing it a lot.
Yeah. He's got some Jarl in there. Yeah. I didn't have a Creed shirt when I first got there. So I was like, I got to wear some other band shirt. So I wore Iron Maiden. And I was like, is this like weird to wear an Iron Maiden shirt
whatever. I wore
Tremonti's Guitar Workshop. But then when I went to go to the picture, he's like, awesome shirt.
Nice.
I was like, because he's like a hard rocker. He's like his solo band called Tremonti is a lot more like speed metal. So it's like hard drums, tons of like the jug, like that.
Nice.
The what did he call that? The metal gallop, I think he called it. Yeah, lots of that. So just hard driving stuff. It's awesome. If we could see Tremonti live, his band, that's like a bucket list item now. Because we've seen Alter Bridge play once. They weren't the headliner, but who was it? Was I think this was last year or 2 years ago. It was Disturbed and Breaking Benjamin was opening.
Oh wow!
And Alter Bridge was before them, so it was like a 45-minute set.
That's like a 2001. It's a
throwback.
rewind. Yeah.
But we came and saw Alter Bridge, and then we just left after that because the crowd was getting more sketchy as the evening was going on, and it was just like, we're not into this. We just wanted to see Alter Bridge. Anyway, so now we've seen those two bands, and it's like, I want to see Alter Bridge again, like actually headlining, but then I want to see Tremonti as well. That would be a bucket list thing.
Yeah, I don't know if I have any more
He's
bands
on tour right now.
I don't know if I have any more bands on my bucket list.
No,
I don't.
We haven't been to a lot, so it's like Rachel's been to more because she went to a lot when she was
I crossed
younger.
I crossed a lot off my list.
Yeah.
Around the early 2000s. Yeah.
I can't think of any others that I would really want to see. I want to take my kids to see Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Oh,
because I think they would have a blast.
Yeah.
But they don't play anywhere near here. We don't really have a Coliseum like venue in Richmond anymore because they shut down the Coliseum a few years ago. We saw them a couple of times at the Coliseum before they shut it down, but our kids were too young. And now it's like my kids love, rock and like, oh, that would be such a good show for them to see. It's such a spectacle. But the only time they're like anywhere nearby is like in Northern Virginia on like a Thursday in December. And I'm like, that's insane time for us to try to go to a weekday show with kids. Like it's just never happened. So I'm like, I might just have to wait until they're in college or something and then we'll go whatever.
Yeah, there's a band called Sabaton that I'd really love to see, but they only, like when they come to the US, they only play these like massive metal fests that have like 12 big bands and
oh gosh, yeah.
It's just, inaccessible, unfortunately, but that's fine.
Yeah,
That's the thing. It's like,
maybe.
video is so accessible these days. If you want to see like a concert experience, it's
True.
not too tough. But of course, the
True.
live action is
It's different.
completely
Yeah.
different.
I mean, yeah, like it was like the bass drum was like thumping in our chests and all that
Nice.
stuff the whole time. It was pretty rad. It was pretty rad. Anyway, yeah, so that was my last week. It was a lot of fun. And I guess that's it. So we can wrap up. I got my fun fact though. So let's do that. I want to thank everybody for watching. Leave us some feedback. Let us know how we're doing. Ask us questions down in the comments so we can answer more questions.
And I do have a post up on the YouTube community page asking for questions.
Ooh.
You can pop in there and ask
There
your
you
questions
go.
as
All
well.
right.
And I will just like to say, if you happen to be one of the people who is listening to this on your way to the DC Pen Show, we often do get people coming up to us at the show and saying, hey, I was just listening to you. Thank you and hello.
And if you're too nervous or too busy or whatever, and you see us and you don't want to come up and actually talk, just yell our name. Just yell it and we'll see it and be like, got you.
Also, it's unlikely you will be any more awkward than I am.
This is true. It's pretty awkward around here. But yeah, cool. All right. You ready for the random fun fact?
I would love it.
Okay, this is an Olympics fact.
Okay, never mind. Nah, I'm just kidding.
You're
Not gonna beat the Jarl fact. Like that's as fun as it gets.
That was fun.
But go ahead.
That was an impromptu fun fact. Okay. So there's all kinds of Olympics stuff floating around right now. Excuse me, because it's happening. So my fun fact, it was a little bit of a deep dive, but I did not go super deep. Went like waist deep. So I had heard that there used to be art as part of the Summer Olympics, like painting and sculpting and stuff like that. And I was like, really?
That sounds very Greek.
I was like, yeah. So I was like, let me look into that a little bit more. So I found, some helpful resources. The Wikipedia page about it's pretty good. Smithsonian Magazine did a good article on it. So from 1912 to 1954, the Olympics awarded medals for essentially fine art. So alongside events like the gymnastics and swimming, an Olympian could compete in painting, sculpting, architecture, literature, and music, so long as whatever they were submitting was inspired by the concept of sport. So it had to be sport centric.
So they didn't do it on site.
Subject. No, they submitted this. Yeah, it wasn't like a Bob Ross, see how fast you can paint a landscape with a basketball in the background, kind of a picture. So yeah, these were submitted like ahead of time or whatever, but it was judged. They had judges and stuff like that. So these competitions were eventually scrapped because they really started to blur the line between amateurism and professionalism, since artists inherently rely on selling their work for their livelihood. And the then president of the International Olympic Committee was a staunch supporter of amateurs competing in the Olympics, which of course now we think about, we're like, what do you mean amateurs? Like everybody competing in the Olympics is like a professional athlete or sponsored or whatever, with some rare exception, but like pretty much everybody's like been doing it their whole life, and might even be, like whatever, think about like the basketball players and stuff like that. They're like from the NBA and all that.
Celebrities.
Yeah. So I dove into that a little bit because I was like, tell me more. During that time, 1912 to 1952, there were 151 medals given for the original works in the fine arts inspired by these athletic endeavors. However, they have actually been stricken from the Olympic record. So they are not part of the total towards like the country's medal counts anymore. So they did it for a while, but then they just were like, no, we're just going to pretend like that never happened.
Wow.
So
it's kind of sad.
I know, right? And then like nobody knows about it anymore. So American Avery Brundage became the president of the International Olympic Committee after World War II, and he was a rigid supporter of amateur athletics. He wanted the Olympics to be completely pure, not to be swayed by the weight of money. Isn't that ironic for today's situation? Because artists inherently rely on selling their work for their livelihood, and because winning an Olympic medal could theoretically serve as a sort of advertisement for the quality of an artist's work, Brundage took aim at the art competitions, insisting that they represented an unwelcome incursion of professionalism. So from 1912 to 1954, 52, whatever, it was a thing, but then he really was like, trying to put an end to it, and eventually did. So although ironically Brundage himself had once entered a piece of literature in the 1932 games and got an honorable mention, he stringently led a campaign against the arts following the 1948 games. The amateur rules, so he was really big on the amateur professional, like hard line there. They were in place until he retired from the International Olympic Committee in 1972. There was already some petitioning for the professional thing to be a thing. And in fact, part of what, was pushing for that too is, in the like the Eastern Bloc, this is like Soviet Union and all that, there were like some on the books amateurs who were really state sponsored professional athletes. They were kind of blurring the line a little bit, and they were just wiping the floor with everybody. That's part of where the whole like miracle, like 1984 thing kind of came from, was like you had like the whole, whatever, democracy versus communism clash thing going on. And it was a bunch of amateurs, in the US, because they had rules in place about like NHL players couldn't play in the thing. Anyway, so that was definitely a thing. But, starting in 1972, he retired. They started to relax those rules about, professionals not being allowed in there. And they eventually abandoned that in the 1990s, except for wrestling, because professional wrestling is
something
not the
entirely.
same thing
No.
as the wrestling they have in the Olympics. But one interesting thing, this isn't fine art necessarily, but, breakdancing is new in the Olympics this year. You could argue that that is a performing art, so that is still artistic. And now you could argue like figure skating too is really performing arts.
Mm-hmm.
Gymnastics and stuff. It's like, there's like some elements of that, but I would, I don't know. But there's a performing arts element to a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Even like skateboarding and stuff like that could be technically, I don't know. So I just thought that was really interesting. But I mean, like literally straight up people writing like orchestral compositions and literature, like, novels and whatever, architectural drawings. So people do like drawings of stadiums and stuff like that and submit that. But apparently it was really, really tough to determine like
I can see
who
that.
won,
Yeah.
because art is subjective. So even as that all that was happening, there were some years where they just like didn't award medals to people because they either thought it wasn't not good enough or it was, whatever, too subjective. So it was kind of fraught to begin with, less clear about who wins an art competition versus like run from here to there in the fastest time.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I
why
forgot
they
about
stopped
the
it, but
I forgot about the whole amateur versus professional thing, because that's why they took away Jim Thorpe's medals. Remember?
yeah.
Because they found out like, oh wait, you ran professionally one time.
Or he'd like played baseball or something like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
and like so they're like, no, you don't win after all.
Yeah. That was the thing. That was like, this
that's
guy,
right. I forgot
this
about
guy
that.
Brundage, he was a big push for that.
Okay.
So, and then of course now today is like, that is a distant.
You
thing in the
absolutely
past.
make money after winning an
Yeah.
Olympic gold medal, every single one of them.
Yeah. I think so. Rachel and I, when we watched, we're not like huge on the Olympics, but Joseph was born during the Vancouver Olympics in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like we were home with a newborn up at all hours of the night
That's what you watch.
and so we watched it, and we had no cable. So we just
Yeah.
watched the Olympics like crazy, and we like learned all about curling. I was like, what is curling? I was like, okay, we're going to watch a bunch of curling. But the thing that stuck with me the most was, you think about like professional athletes and stuff like that. Literally the curling people, they're like, yeah, whatever, this American guy, he's like over on his laptop, like doing work because he couldn't get enough PTO for the Olympics. So he's like remote working from the Olympics in between his competitions. I'm like, respect that. That's a side hustle right there. So yeah, the curlers I think are still not fully professional, but
Kind of makes you want to cheer for them.
yeah, exactly. It gives you a new level of respect. But anyway,
Yeah, I've
That's my fun
never
fact.
watched the Olympics.
Really?
No.
Like not even like,
No.
I feel like now with the way they cut things up and put it on YouTube and stuff like that, you can just watch like synopsis of certain parts of it. And
Yeah, I don't
highlights.
know. It doesn't even like get me curious. I don't know why.
Really?
No,
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, if something really crazy happens, I guess.
I mean, there's some interesting stories of like people people devote their whole lives to it. So there's definitely some compelling
Yeah,
stories
I'm
and
sure there
inspirational
is.
stuff. It's also just a commercial machine. So
Yeah.
you feel like, oh, this is like capitalism.
Yeah, everything I've heard has
You
just
know.
been like, people complaining about things. That's really all I know about
Oh,
this.
You get enough attention on something, people are going to
Yeah,
complain.
exactly. That's
But,
what seems to be pervasive.
Yeah, but it is kind of interesting. I mean, they have like archery. They have some interesting things in there. They have kayaking. That's kind of interesting. Rock climbing. Like there's some
rock climbing.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
Rock climbing. Yeah, some different categories.
That's cool. I definitely tend to like understand more of the things that people treat as hobbies, like kayaking or rock climbing. I'm like, okay, cool. But then there are some things that
You're
people
like, how do you standardize this in a competition?
Well, there are some things that only exist in the Olympics. Like if you say like, hey, I rock climb for a hobby, or I like to run, I like to kayak, I like to, like to do archery. All these are hobbies that I'm like, okay, I can wrap my head around that. But then there's these other like really off the wall things that no one does as just hobbies. That like, no one says like, oh yeah, I'm going to take on Saturday, I'll probably go do some pole vaulting, like that doesn't happen. That's just a,
I did some pole vaulting in high school.
Yeah, I know they offer shot putting and pole vaulting, but like nobody. But
you're doing it as part of track,
right? Exactly. It's not like no one does that as a just kind of recreational.
There's no rec league of pole vaulters that I'm aware of, at least. Yeah.
I'm sure there's someone out there somewhere. Like anyway, those I'm like I have a hard time like bobsledding. No one does recreational bobsledding.
That's a tougher one to do.
I don't think anyway. Not in Virginia.
Definitely not in Virginia. Bobsledding's a tough one. Yeah. It's interesting. So I don't know.
Olympics.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's going on right now, and then it will stop and no one will care. But anyway, it's going on right now. So that's episode 145. So I hope y'all enjoy that. The next one is going to be our very different,
the very important episode 146.
Yes.
Monumental.
Last year we did like episode 100. Now we're like 146. Sure, why not? But anyway, that's happening. Until then, have a great week, everybody. Thanks for watching, and